All right, we are live. Good morning, everyone. The reason I'm going live this morning is because all kinds of news for Star Wars keeps coming out, and I can't keep making the videos the way I do to discuss everything. So I thought to keep you guys entertained on your drives to work, or while you're at work early, or on your way home, depending on what part of the world you're in, we'd do some live stuff and hang out with you people early in the morning. So it looks like all kinds of people are falling into the chat. Welcome, everyone. Good morning. And yes, we're going to discuss the scrapped Star Wars from George Lucas. I found a really interesting article about it this morning as I'm drinking my coffee, and I thought we could have a cool dialogue about it before tonight's Cobra Kai roundtable for Patreon. Morning, Lime Green Hulk. Oh, okay, we got people in Italy. So yeah, World Class Bullshitters is truly worldwide at this point, so it's kind of cool. So I'm going to give it a few minutes before we start this thing officially. What'd you guys think of last night's High Council? Let me know in the comments. I'm reading them. Yeah, William, it's 7:48 here, my friend, so it's not much earlier. Ooh, we got people from India, Greece. All right, cool. Netherlands. What's up, Bidu? Not enough Cecil. I don't think Cecil's awake at this time of the day, so he's always welcome. He's probably nursing a hangover somewhere else. Fraudbert, are there world class bullshitters t-shirts? Oh yeah, there used to be a whole website. I'm building a new one, but if you look up Incarnate Studios on Etsy, there's some t-shirts from the channel. And if you guys have any requests from our old ones, you just let me know and we can make that happen for you. Ryan, don't feel bad about being from Wisconsin. It's not a big deal. I have a friend that lives in Wisconsin. It's a pretty cool state. Well, they have good food and beer, so there's that. All the way from Wakanda, huh, Prince Johnny? That's pretty awesome. Yeah, Nurkish did have Cecil in his live stream last night. Cecil was on the High Council, too, for a few minutes, and that was a lot of fun. So it looks like a bunch of people are starting to pop in, so let's start talking about this main topic. And thank you, Zell Batista. We love you too. So this comes from news.com out of Australia. I know they kind of post some garbage stuff, but they're reporting on something you can't really put too much of a spin on. It says, a Star Wars story, thousands of years in the making. George Lucas claimed fans would have hated his planned Star Wars sequels, which were later shelved by Disney. I don't think we hated it as much as we hated The Last Jedi, but I'm just reaching here. So the article says, in 2012, Lucas sold Star Wars to Disney in a landmark deal, which would see the entertainment company launch a new trilogy with The Force Awakens. In a surprise move, Disney opted not to use Lucas's existing plans for the next 3 movies, which would have picked up where Return of the Jedi left off. Now, in an interview published in a new book, James Cameron's Stories of Science Fiction, Lucas has revealed exactly what his sequel plans were and why fans hated it. So, yeah, screw The Last Jedi is right. The next 3 Star Wars films were going to get into a microbiotic world, but there's this world of creatures that operate differently than we do, Lucas said. I called them the Wills, and the Wills are the ones who actually control the universe. They feed off the Force. So, if there's anyone out there that likes Star Wars the way I do and you are deep into the production of the first film, the Wills was originally part of the original title for Star Wars. I believe it was something like from the Journal of Luke Skywalker, something of the Wills, Chapter 1, The Star Wars. And that's where we were originally with this stuff. And now Lucas says that he was coming out and going to use that again. And he says, while plans differed wildly from what Disney eventually released, Lucas maintains that he would have gone ahead with the storyline if he had held on to Star Wars. Of course, a lot of fans would have hated it, just like they did The Phantom Menace and everything. But at least I would have told the whole story from the beginning to the end. Okay, the Wills appear at the end of the Clone Wars. I'll have to check that out. Yeah, Journal of the Wills. The thing is, I watched the Clone Wars in college, but like a lot of people in college, Friday nights were for fun. So, during the week I would do my schoolwork and hang out with my friends. But after I got to a certain point, Friday nights weren't spent indoors, girlfriends, stuff like that. So I missed a lot of the Clone Wars, I guess from 2000 and late 09 on to 2010. I don't know exactly what I missed, but I will go back and check that out. I know it was on Netflix, and I definitely have interest in checking that out. Yeah, George did need a Gary Kurtz to keep him in check, Cap. That's the one thing I always talk about in these videos. You know, unbridled control of your idea is not always a good thing. Sometimes it's a good thing. Sometimes you have the freedom to tell the story the way you want. But sometimes you go one step too far. It's like a really good joke. You tell this joke, it's awesome. It's a huge hit after the punchline. Everybody loves it. And then you go on another 5 minutes and you kill the joke completely. That's kind of what the prequels were in many ways. Star Wars was the joke set up perfectly. Hell, even Return of the Jedi was kind of like that. And yeah, Derek, it is early. Oh, so the Wills teach you how to become a Force ghost. Thank you, Lime Green Hulk. No, I don't hate the prequels as much as I used to, Snoopy. Here's the thing. I was 10 when Episode 1 came out, and I wasn't into it. And I got out of Star Wars for a couple years. I got into wrestling. And I know people think, oh, wrestling's so lame. It is nowadays. But in 1999, it was the coolest it ever was. So I'm a 10-year-old kid, and I looked at that. And Star Wars kind of fell by the wayside. And then Episode 2 came out. I was really concerned with the first Spider-Man film. And then Episode 3 came out, and I had gotten back into Star Wars thanks to the DVD releases. So as time has gone on, my opinion on the prequels has softened. Not to a point where it's a loving look back, but it's a time where it's a thing that I look back on and go, these aren't good. I don't love them as much as the other Star Wars movies, but they're not as offensive or damaging as new Disney Star Wars movies. Because you had, George Lucas admitted to knowing that people would have hated his Star Wars movie if he would have went to the microbiotic plane of the Will's world and all that stuff. But I don't think that was his intention to tell a story that was going to alienate half of the audience intentionally. What did John Boyega say? I know he had that run-in. Oh, the run-in that he had with Geeks and Gamers and all that stuff. I've heard about John Boyega on Twitter. I don't agree with John Boyega. We can talk about him in a minute. People are starting to talk about the Thrawn trilogy and stuff like that. I have the Thrawn trilogy over on my shelf. I gotta find time to read it. Maybe I will. Derek wants to know, do I think Revenge of the Sith is at least okay? I do. That's the prequel movie that when I say, I could have said I hate the prequels from Episode 1 and 2, but then Episode 3 came out, and I was like, that was good. And I watch it, and it's not as good as I once thought. The hype has died down. But I look back on it as a competently made film. To me, it's the only one that George Lucas got right in terms of positivity. Not positivity, in terms of accuracy, like on a percentage basis. Like Episode 1 was like 15% good. Episode 2 was hypothetically like 5% good. And Episode 3 was like 65% good. There are moments that are dumb. Some of the CGI doesn't hold up. But it still doesn't suck. I mean, we got stuff that doesn't make any sense nowadays. At least with the old Star Wars movies, to a degree, they all built off, especially in the original trilogy, they all built off each other. They didn't just get to a point and say, hey, screw it, we're going to do something else. That's what we have with Episode 8 from Rian Johnson. He just kind of goes, screw it. Yeah, you like everything from Episodes 1 through 6. I think, Lime Green Hulk, I think your assessment of The Last Jedi is 1% good is a stretch. I think that's too positive. I think we're going at like 0.35%. There's not anything of complete quality in that movie. Even the CGI is wonky at times. And we live in a world where stuff like District 9, which had a much smaller budget, looked great. So I don't really think it's that good like that. Blame the prequel haters for Rey and company. You know, the prequels definitely had done damage for Episodes 7 and 8. I definitely see where you're coming from with that one. Yeah, I guess in a way it's a response. I think the funny thing is, though, they're starting to pick from the prequel stuff, and I'll stand by this. I bet you an Obi-Wan Kenobi movie with Ewan McGregor done right will be great and probably bring in a lot of people, and it'll be funny that Star Wars could be redeemed in the eyes of the market, we're just going to use the market here, by a prequel character extension. Wouldn't that be some shit if it was something from the prequels that saved Star Wars? And I'm using quotations if you can't see me. Obviously, you can't see me. You can't have a 16-year-old girl be the queen of a planet. That's why we kind of don't like that. I don't think isn't queen a title, like a political title, like senator and all this other stuff? I mean, I think it's dumb, a teenage queen. I am not knocking that. All I'm saying is I think it's a title, and that's why she's just Padme in the next two, and there's another queen that gets killed or something like that. I don't know. The politics of the Star Wars Senate aren't the most interesting. I think George Lucas was trying to tell how the Empire came into power, and it makes sense. But at least if you have to tell the story, he told it in a way that worked to a degree. This new one, like, how did the First Order come to power? We're never going to learn this shit, and I think it's too late for people to care. Yeah, Episode 9 can't be unfucked, Bjorn. There's no... Do we want it to be unfucked? Do we want the entertainment value of a dumpster fire? Or do we want to be blown away with an epic Star Wars tale? I would love an epic Star Wars tale, but I don't think we're going to get that because they're just going to double down on the politics of Star Wars. What do I think about the Rule of Two? So in terms of the Sith, Master and an Apprentice. I don't know if I dislike it or love it. I think it would have been way cooler to see an army of Sith versus an army of Jedi, but that's fine. I guess it makes the Sith more intimidating that those two alone can manipulate an entire galaxy into doing the will of the Master. It makes Palpatine look that much more insidious and evil and powerful. One thing, though, I do like Palpatine quite a bit. The one thing I dislike, I don't even know if I dislike it. No, I don't, because I love the first Star Wars movie. It's kind of bizarre how the Emperor is just a line of dialogue in that movie, and he's such a big part in every other Star Wars movie, much like Yoda. So for someone that considers the first Star Wars movie like this holy thing, and if you're put it like this, if you're not a character in that first movie, I haven't had as much exposure intentionally to it, so I don't feel about him the same way. Like when you say Palpatine, I think of just the Emperor from Return of the Jedi first and foremost. I don't necessarily think of all the stuff he did in the prequels right off the bat. Kathleen Kennedy, is she the Master of the Apprentice? She's an idiot. No, she's unqualified for her job, to say the least. I'll say we'll put her as the Master, and J.J. Abrams and Rian Johnson are the apprentices on each independent film. So J.J. was, removed from power, and Rian Johnson became the apprentice, and now he's back in favor with the company. So she's always the mastermind behind it all. Star Wars fan club. Did I read Star Wars Insider? I wasn't in the fan club, but I have read Star Wars Insider because I would go to like bookstores and pick up back issues for 50 cents or a quarter. And, I read those. Those are fun. It's kind of funny to read the stuff they talk about in there. It's much better journalism in quotations than what we get nowadays. I actually have downstairs, somebody gave me a new Star Wars Insider magazine, or maybe, I don't know what it's called. Maybe it's just Star Wars magazine, but it's got the Millennium Falcon or the Millennial Flamingo, as Ethan says, on the cover. Bob Iger is the Master. I don't think Bob Iger wants the weird identity politics in Star Wars. He just wants money. And he just doesn't care. That's why these people are given free reign. That's why we should be thankful that Marvel came out when it did, because once they flip the switch on this identity shit, it's going to be game over for Marvel. They're not going to be able to recover, because here's the thing. The people that dislike the SJW influence in entertainment aren't a bunch of racist people. They're just people that don't like to be crapped on. Like, people go to the movies for escapist entertainment and fun. Kids go because they want to see the bright superheroes and the explosions and all that fun shit. So once they do that, it'll hit the toilet. If Star Wars had been bought by Disney 10 years prior, well, it wouldn't have been timeline. But my point is, if it would have come out before the identity politics would have run rampant, I don't think we would have saw it infused with Star Wars. I think Star Wars is a victim of it just coming out at a certain point where people think it's cool to be woke. But like we always say, go woke, go broke, or get woke, go broke, as I say. Yeah, but Marvel Comics hasn't stopped their shit in terms of the SJW garbage. Because look at CB Cebulski. He comes in, he seems like everyone's hope for a new, brighter future at Marvel, and now he's just putting out the same crap, and he's supporting the same crappy, toxic people. They talk about toxic fandom and toxic this and that. The toxicity comes from the people that are creating this shit. They're just spewing venom at all the fans, and there's no reason for that. If you want to, there's two ways you can look at it. One, where the fans, we love the same shit as they do, so we should all just have this community. And two, if you want to look at it the way I do, we're the customers of these businesses, and you don't disrespect your customers. That's just bad business, bad marketing. Like I've told you guys on the show before, I've wanted to be, a comic book artist, and the situation at Marvel and Disney has kind of just turned me off to all that stuff. So they've pushed away somebody like me who hasn't even, or that wanted to get involved in the community. I don't even want to be involved with it. I don't even read the books, buy the products. They've pushed me out just because of the garbage that they spew. Let's see. Who should replace KK as the head of Lucasfilm? Nobody on the story group. We need somebody that is a proven person. I don't know. You guys tell me. Give me some suggestions. I didn't know Darth Plagueis met Jabba the Hutt. I gave Solo a 5 out of 10 personally, and Kendo brought the score down with a 3, so it was like a 4.625 out of 10 or something officially from the channel. Derek, I think when people say that, I think that's just meant to be an ironic statement. I don't think they say it like, in all earnestness. You were past $2 billion at the box office. Yeah, I saw that, and I'm still upset that I haven't had a chance to go back and see it again. I loved Infinity War. You can say I drank the Kool-Aid, but I've been on the Marvel train since, the movies, MCU, since 2008. I know a lot of people here are younger than I am. I'm still in my 20s, but I was 19 when when Iron Man came out, and I was beyond excited, and I wasn't disappointed with a single movie. Yeah, Iron Man 2 is not as good. There are other MCU films that don't hit to the same level as stuff like Civil War or Winter Soldier, Infinity War, the first Avengers. There are definitely films that aren't in the same league, but there's a lot of fun too. Even stuff like Thor 2 isn't the worst thing ever made. That's, The Last Jedi. Enable a time chat when there are 1,500 plus people trying to chat at the same time. I can do that. We only have 525 viewers, and none of the super chats have rolled in, so I haven't missed any yet. So if I do miss those, just let me know. I'm just kind of hanging out. You're 32. Does it make you the oldest guy here? I don't know. Maybe. Yeah, Lime Green Hulk. Rub it in that you got to see Infinity War 3 times in 2 weeks. I've been here making videos for you guys, doing the live streams. No complaints. Love it to death. Wouldn't change it or, trade it for the world. But I still haven't seen Infinity War. And then after we do this live stream, I have to go get ready for the Patreon stuff tonight. We're doing a Cobra Kai roundtable. At least that's what we agreed upon. I got to see if the other guys have watched it yet. Connect Star Wars is a lot of fun. The songs suck, though, man. I'm Han Solo? Really? Ugh. Oh, we got the ages popping up. Oh, here we go. Good morning, and thank you, Mr. Fish and Ducks, for the first super chat. Ever going back to Skype podcasts? If there's enough demand for that, yeah, maybe. Here's the thing. Skype's quality is what really brought us over to Google. It wasn't anything but that, because Skype cuts out way worse than anything I've ever dealt with. And I've looked into other things too, but a lot of places want to charge sometimes a stupid amount. I'm not really looking to pay $60 a month to record a podcast, because there's other costs that we have to deal with. Skype is nice because it does keep the show a little more compact, but I do like the fun nature of the show live because of this. I do like talking to all the people, especially when you guys got guys like Brandon Moist going in and kind of hijacking the show with his damn moist puns and stuff like that. So there's a lot of fun about that. Yeah, the super chats are funny, Derek. We're always we've always been an entertainment show. So Rugis is the oldest guy in the room at 50. I think somebody said they're older. Rugis Spartacus is 55. So there's some old folks in here. No, we do not have Discord. I can see Rose Tico in every mall in the Philippines. She should be the new face of the dying franchise. Yeah, it's definitely not Ray anymore. It's Rose Tico. It's funny that they push certain things into these characters, but they don't flesh them out, and that's why they fail. Not because they're women, not because they're minorities. They fail because they're bad characters first and foremost, and you can't hide behind that. You can't hide behind all kinds of shit like that. Yeah, Brian Lape is the grandpa of world-class bullshitters. By the way, folks, if you're going to come out to Chicago to meet us, Brian Lape will be there. So, another one, thank you for Mr. Fish and Ducks. Discord is free. I also like the older podcast because you were not distracted by the chat. Maybe a mixture of things. Keep up the good work. First off, thank you very much, Mr. Fish and Ducks. Yeah, I will definitely I'll look into it. We got to find another way to record it just with higher quality audio. But there's one thing you guys should notice, too. When we do the show live, obviously it's live and you can hear it right away. And because of the we don't have to edit it the way we used to, it goes live on iTunes a lot earlier. Because way back in the day, World Class Bullshitters, when we did it in 2015, 16, and most of 17, I would have to record the audio, make it as a MP3, put it into Movie Maker, make an actual video, and then upload it. That took forever. I was up till 2 or 3 in the morning with the shows back then. Then it got to a point where I would upload it via MP3, and it would jump over to here. Less time, but I was still up till 1. Now I can get the show, the After Dark episode, everything edited and uploaded and done before midnight. So being live really does have that benefit. It gets the show to you earlier. So there are pros and cons to it. Yeah, we don't talk about topics as long. And, you know, we're going to start doing that a little more. Tomorrow night, we have a game that we're going to play that we want you guys to get involved with. We're also going to do a couple other things because Nick was out of town. We didn't get to do our 50,000 subscriber special. I mean, we're almost to 60 now, so I don't even know if it's worth it. We'll do a celebration tomorrow of all you guys joining the channel. So goodbye to the McGinnis Experiment. I'm sorry you have to go to work. Ugh. Yeah, I would like to do some early morning stuff. I want to do some more live stuff to talk about the smaller topics that I miss in the videos because the videos take a lot of time. And I'm not complaining, and I'm never going to stop doing those. But stuff like this helps us get into odd conversations. And there's just a lot of fun to be had. I don't think you can have a stream like this that's just boring and dull and an energy vacuum. Not for me, at least. Jazzby says, could you imagine a Count Dooku spin-off movie? I could. If it showed... Actually, it could be one of the better ones because he's a fallen Jedi, right? Yeah. If it would be him and Cypher Diaz and all those guys and a younger Qui-Gon, you could really do a cool story. Here's the thing. Yes, the prequels have bad execution at times, but there are some really awesome nuggets of gold hidden in that turd that is Episode 2. And you could build off a lot of those things and really elaborate on them and make some really cool stories. Instead of taking, the Kessel Run in less than 12 parsecs line because it was in Star Wars and everyone's seen that movie, you could make something really compelling and, watch the fall of a Jedi that's not Darth Vader. And you obviously know Dooku's outcome. So that is a cool concept. Thank you, Jazzby. So he wants to know who is more hated, Rey or Roman Reigns? Well, put it like this. People walk out on Roman Reigns. I know people don't like wrestling, but Roman Reigns is like the biggest star in wrestling according to the WWE. People walk out because they dislike him. I don't think people are walking out of these Star Wars movies because they hate Rey. So I'll go with Roman Reigns is more hated because wrestling fans, yes, wrestling's fake, but people see it more real. I don't know how to say it, without sounding like an idiot. So I'll leave it like that. I think Roman Reigns is more hated than Rey. Mr. Fish and Ducks, again, thank you very much. Count Dooku could really work. I agree. Like I said, you could show the fall from grace. You could have an epic lightsaber duel, all kinds of stuff. You could really have a cool prequel era film that doesn't suck. Because, like Obi-Wan says, before the Dark Time, before the Empire, instead of having another film where we have rebels in the Empire and people are on the run, it would be just something refreshing and different. I don't think wrestling is mostly a U.S. thing. It's actually really big in other parts of the world, especially Japan and Europe. So, yeah, maybe Ray is hated intergalactically. Super chat for $5 from Bill Robb. Thank you very much, Bill Robb. You didn't post anything, but I will say thank you one more time because I appreciate it. I think Finn would be a better character if he wasn't saved by Rose Tico. The hero sacrifice is a cool thing. I think it would have been cool to see Han Solo give the ultimate sacrifice. Because remember on the Death Star, he comes back to save Luke and it works and everyone saves. The day is saved and they're all happy. Have something similar where he fails. Like I said, if Han has to die, he should have went out in a blaze of glory with Chewie and the Millennium Falcon, not, him getting stabbed and falling off a catwalk because his son's a bitch. Finn should have been the main character too. He definitely has the propensity to be the most interesting character from that saga, but they fucked it up. This one comes from Tony Alec, or if you're Tony Alec from other stuff, I'm just going to call you that. Sorry, man, I don't want to butcher your name. So, super chat for him, thank you very much. What about a well-told Star Wars animated movie? Yeah. I don't necessarily need it to be live action to enjoy it. I don't think the Force for Diversity cartoon works at all or is good, and it's funny how these websites that are trying to stand with Rose Tico are promoting these dolls as like the next greatest thing. But if you did something in the vein of Clone Wars or something that's never been seen in the world of animation, you could really do something cool. I wouldn't mind seeing like a Han, Luke, and Leia type of thing where the people are animated to look like Harrison Ford, Carrie Fisher, Mark Hamill, and you get sound-alike actors, or you get Mark Hamill in that case. And you can get Ben Ford, Harrison Ford's son, who does voiceover work on like the Blade Runner stuff because he sounds like him, and continue it that way. So I don't think animation's out of, especially in Disney's wheelhouse. I mean, come on. They built their empire on animation. That would be sweet. Now, I would pay extra money to see a Star Wars Christmas special animation turned into a movie. So that Boba Fett story is like 14 hours long, and it looks equally shitty for all 14 hours. Who would I get to play? Okay, this one comes from Jazzby. First off, thank you, Jazzby. Who would you get to play Count Dooku? Well, Christopher Lee was awesome. Do you get somebody that looks like Christopher Lee or that will age into Christopher? I mean, this is so cliche. The first thing that popped into my mind was Benedict Cumberbatch. I'm not saying it has to be him. That's just literally the first thing because I thought middle-aged white British guy, boom, Benedict Cumberbatch. Whoever plays him has to have the voice down because I don't know if you guys like Christopher Lee that much. I'm a Christopher Lee fan. I was sad when he passed away, not because I was, grave standing and trying to get attention for the celebrities because we didn't even talk about it on the channel. I don't even know if we existed yet. But my point is, I always thought Christopher Lee had a really awesome voice. I loved him in James Bond. He was Ian Fleming's cousin, the guy who created James Bond. That's just an added thing you probably didn't know. That voice is carried on through all this stuff. I think you need to sound like Dooku, and we've only seen Dooku in a certain way, so there's so much to add to the character outside of being Christopher Lee. I think Dooku was just Christopher Lee to be Christopher Lee. So I'm sorry, JSB, that I didn't give you a specific name outside of a Benedict Cumberbatch, but if anyone can mimic the voice and have just like a presence of sophistication, and he wouldn't be evil, maybe he's like a classier version of Anakin, if that makes sense. This one comes from Suit Yourself. Thank you, Suit Yourself. Finn could have brought to us PTSD, Empire training flashbacks, showing us how a soldier growing up within the Empire and deals with rejecting it. You see, that's the kind of stuff they messed up with. Suit Yourself and everyone who's listening. That kind of stuff would have been... by the way, I know I missed 2 of the super chats. I'm going to read those in just a second. Don't worry. So that should have been what they've done. Solo played on that in the beginning when he was running through the battle and all that crap. But just because a movie's serious doesn't mean it can't appeal to children or sell merchandise. I mean, kids need to learn how to grow their attention spans. I'm not trying to get on a platform here, but I see my friends' kids who watch cartoons and they're shit. They're just like 5-second flash in the pan animations. It's over, something else. Like I said, I'm still in my 20s. Grew up watching Spider-Man, X-Men the animated series, Batman the animated series, all those things. X-Men had a long-running story arc. Same thing with Spider-Man. Having people put out a show or something for kids that requires their attention and sells them toys isn't a bad thing. I mean, I think Batman the animated series helped a lot of people learn what noir is and how to respect the long-form story and X-Men and Spider-Man and stuff like that. So that's what I would have liked to have seen in Star Wars instead of a bunch of fun, flashy shit like, hey, remember this, remember that. Give us something with some more substance. Generic Edgelord had posted animated shows of the Empire movie. Or Animated Shadows of the Empire movie. Sorry, it's early here. Yeah, with Dash Rendar, but somebody told me that the Force for Diversity killed that timeline, so it wouldn't work. But if I had the power to make your idea happen, I would, because Shadows of the Empire, gotta understand, I was 7 or 8 years old. I was into Star Wars when Shadows of the Empire came out. There was this new toy line, the video game, the book, which I didn't read back then. It was some really cool shit. I liked that era of Star Wars. You don't have Han, you need a Han replacement. It really works. Mr. Fishaduck says, send to Japan and make a great Chinese cartoon. I thought they went to Korean animation houses over there. Steve Strangest says, how can we organize a worldwide boycott for episode 9, but more centralized as in all YouTubers and bloggers to unite under one movement? Huge fan from Australia. Well, thank you, Steve. I appreciate you guys being with us from Australia. I don't know what time it is over there. I'm sure it's like midday or something, or maybe it's late in the night. Sorry, I'm not good with time zones off the top of my head. But what can we do to organize a worldwide boycott? I think here's the question. Do you want episode 9 to flat out fail, or do you want it to get better? I would love for like this magical thing to happen where the movie just is what it needs to be. But I don't think that'll happen. My best advice to everyone that watches this channel and Geeks and Gamers and Ethan Van Sciver is to stay involved with the community like this. Don't forget about what The Last Jedi was. Don't forget about what they said about us. I think it's just bad business, and they do need to be held accountable for shitting on the fans. Oh, it's not all the fans. No, you're making generalized statements. Basically, your statement is correct. It's not all the fans, but it's all the fans that dislike what you do, no matter what approach they take. You could be the most polite person in the world to John Boyega, call him sir, shake his hand, X, Y, and Z. But if you dislike what he says, he's just going to go, okay, and think he's smarter than you or better than you because he's involved with Disney Star Wars. So there's that. But realistically, just remember where we are now. I know it's the thing to talk about this and get involved and get emotionally invested, but I'll do my best. Like, stay tuned to this channel, Ethan's channel, Jeremy's channel, and know that we're going to keep this thing rolling because we want an awesome Star Wars franchise to be back. We don't want laziness. We don't want complacency. So we'll do our part. And on your part, I guess your responsibility in quotations would be to make sure that you just remember all of this shit and keep your attention on this. Pay attention to what these people do. Hold them accountable for the next 18 months. Don't just forget about it and then, next November go, oh, Star Wars comes out in a month. I haven't really thought about Star Wars. I'm going to go see this next one. Like, just remember where we were. Remember The Last Jedi. This next one, thank you, comes from Drew101, Aussie97. Disney needs to give Knights of the Old Republic. Well, yeah, but do you want Disney to do that? I mean, I feel like that's kind of Knights of the Old Republic hasn't been tarnished by Disney yet. Do you want it? I don't know. I personally don't want Disney to touch anything Star Wars related. Just Lucas. The thing is, Disney wants money. Like when we say Disney this, Disney that, Disney's responsible for two things. Disney's responsible for owning it and allowing what they do. They want money. They want it fast. Lucasfilm isn't run by anyone with creativity. Like, just, real talk for a minute, quotations. I was watching Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom last night before the live stream of the High Council. And I saw Kathleen Kennedy's name on the movie, and my heart sank. Like, I'm not exaggerating. I was watching the opening, and it said, associate producer Kathleen Kennedy. And I was like, God damn it. And I know that when I watch Back to the Future, her name's going to pop up and all this stuff. She got in on a technicality. Maybe she's qualified on the business aspect, but she is not qualified to hire the business, the creative people. You need a creative visionary for something like Star Wars, or you need a fan like Kevin Feige for Marvel. Dude loves that shit. He's been involved with other movies that aren't part of the MCU. He wasn't in control, but when he took control, look what we got. Iron Man and the like. Nico Narazo, what'd you miss because you're your final? Well, I'll go back and tell you that you missed us talking about Lucas's idea for the episode 7, 8, and 9. Basically, he wanted to go to a microbiotic world and talk about the wills, the creatures or the entities or whatever that feed off the Force, and that he was sure people weren't going to like it, but he wanted to tell the story all the way through. But he didn't have the malicious take like Rian Johnson. And we've just been free-forming back and forth, having a good conversation. So if anybody missed anything, that's pretty much what you've missed. And I hope your American government final went well. Paul McBride, you think James Wan could run the franchise? He did a good job with The Conjuring, and horror movies are hard to make good sequels with. James Wan. I think, isn't he doing Aquaman? And didn't he do a Fast and the Furious movie? Just let me know in the comments. I got to see Aquaman and more stuff. Like, I like horror. I know that's not a thing that people want us to talk about on the channel. If they did, I gladly would. I've worked horror conventions. I've been involved with this shit for a long time. A James Wan type could work. I don't know. Is James Wan a Star Wars fan? Is James Wan available to run a company as a president? I know this isn't going to be liked. I would like somebody like a Jon Favreau who can make movies, can be in movies, can do everything in that way. I don't know what his Star Wars cred is, but I like the guy, and I really like almost everything he's done. Even that episode of My Name is Earl where he plays a dick. He's just a lovable dick. But James Wan did do a good franchise with, or a good job with the sequels to horror movies. And by the way, Paul, tell me what you think about the Halloween trailer, if you're excited or not. I'll talk about it more in the podcast tomorrow night, but I was impressed, and I can't wait for October. Mr. Fish and Duck says it's 10:19 p.m. in Australia currently. Well, thank you. Thank you for everyone that's staying up with us. I know 10:19 is not that late in the night, but some people got to get up for work in the morning, and they don't want to stay up all night. And, thanks for sticking around with us, no matter what time of the day we go live. There's a lot of people watching this. We're actually rivaling most World-Class Bullshitters episodes that go live at this time, or that go live late in the night, so thank you. Funimation should buy Lucasfilm from Disney. Star Wars anime. There's that really cool video about like the TIE Fighters and the X-Wings that's animated. That'd be neat, but do you think you could do that viably for a long period of time? I don't know. Let me know. Denis, the guy that directed Blade Runner 2 should direct a Star Wars movie. Sure. I would like to see that guy direct a James Bond movie. That's that would have been my choice instead of who did we get? Not Danny McBride, Danny Boyle. I'm really nervous about that movie. And yeah, Paul, I'm glad you enjoyed the trailer. I've been watching a lot of Easter egg videos and stuff like that. I normally don't do that for stuff like that, but man, after the Rob Zombie Halloween, I just was so heartbroken. I'm glad you guys agree that the TIE Fighter animation is awesome. I loved it. I thought it was cool. Christopher Nolan, let's see. I like Nolan's movies. I don't dislike let's see. I love the Batman trilogy. I own it on Blu-ray. I loved Inception. I loved Memento. I don't know. I think Nolan works better in the real world because he's able to take something and keep it grounded, but have it be fantastical at the same time. And now when I say that, it sounds like it's a good idea for Star Wars, but does the guy, would he want to go back to the original trilogy era? Like, if he directed like an episode 7 with Han, Luke, and Leia and shit like that, maybe that'd be awesome. I don't know. I haven't seen Dunkirk. I haven't seen something of that scale, but I don't think he could get like a real X-Wing and TIE Fighter to fly around a beach. Somebody, you trust Sony more than Disney. You know? I'm with you there on the most part. Disney, ooh, I don't know about that. No, and I have not seen Society 1989. Mr. Fish and Ducks, thank you again. Nolan Dunkirk, but Star Wars, a dark war movie. Do you think that should have been Rogue? Do you think we could have another dark Star Wars movie, like Dark War movie? Because Rogue One was kind of that, and now we have, you know, I'm not saying that it needs to be light, fair, and fun, but if we keep doing Dark War movies, don't you think that we'd put ourselves into a corner? I don't know. What do you guys think? I need to see Dunkirk still. And yeah, Mel Gibson would be awesome for Star Wars. Another one from Suit Yourself. Thank you very much. Your thoughts on non-canoning current Disney Star Wars film, canceling Episode 9, then remaking 7, 8, and 9? This is a good question that I didn't really get to answer last night on the High Council, so thank you. In a perfect world where I have control of Disney Star Wars, I would love the decanonization of Episodes 7, 8, Solo. I like Rogue One, but I'm going to throw that in there too. It's either you get rid of them all, you don't get to control which ones you get rid of. They get rid of all of them. I would do that. I would like... Here's the thing. I really was a Carrie Fisher fan. Well, let me rephrase it. I was a Princess Leia fan. And I don't mean to belittle her, but I said this to China, the wrestler who died when I met her. I said, as a kid, I had 2 female action figures, and I wasn't talking about the Power Rangers because you always get them as a set, but I had Princess Leia and China, and they were awesome women that I always wanted to own the toy of and play with, and they were as cool as the guys to me. Without Carrie Fisher, Princess Leia around, I don't think a remake would be as good. But in a perfect world where she's not dead and you have Harrison Ford and Mark Hamill, I'd love another shot at Episode 7. You could have the fun, lighthearted nature, and you could have them die or whatever, but you got to respect the characters in the franchise and go somewhere new. We honestly sat through a Death Star again, guys. It was a third Death Star. It was kind of a hard sell on the second Death Star. And then we had an ice planet. And we had a jungle planet and a desert planet. We basically hit all the original trilogy landmarks in one film. That's stupid, and that was lazy. And Episode 8, I've covered it at great lengths. You know what a dumpster fire piece of trash that movie is. So I would love that idea. It's not going to happen, but I would love that idea. Bill Robbs says, my pick for an animated series under Dave Filoni, Ahsoka's story. I think that's cool. I liked her in the show. Now, doesn't she just up and leave the Jedi Order at the end of the show? Something like that? I'm not 100% sure exactly what she does, but I put it like this. I'm cool with more Ahsoka. I don't care, male or female, who your main character is if they're good. And Ahsoka's been a good character. She starts out annoying. She gets interesting. I love that kind of stuff. I love character development. Even on a small scale, I always talk about Beverly Hills Cop on the channel. The relationship between the 3 main guys develops at great lengths between the first and second movie. I like that kind of stuff, and I like callbacks and building upon shit because it's a payoff for the audience of people that watch the movies diligently and pay attention to the small details, and you get these like nice, emotionally gratifying things. But then at the same time, you build a world with a strong narrative structure, and it's nice when critics notice that stuff. It doesn't make a movie great if critics love it, but it helps. And I think strong stories help everyone. Michael C. says, it would have been cool to have Finn be force sensitive, and that was the reason he woke up from his programming. Michael, again, this is a better idea than what we got in the movie. And I have a love-hate relationship with these fan theory things because they're better than the real thing. I love them, so I hate the real shit we get because of the laziness. That is why people dislike Rey, because she doesn't really fit into the story. The movie would have been so much better without her. I wouldn't have cared if you had a black lead in Star Wars. I don't care if Star Wars is 2/3 or half black. I just don't care. Because skin color is not the important factor here. What's the important factor is character development and interesting things. Lando, he betrays his friend. He wants redemption. He goes on a journey to save Han. He, almost sacrifices himself at the Battle of Endor. Like that's character growth and development, and that supersedes color and gender. Rey literally exists just for my vagina memes and all that dumb shit. Generic Edgelord says Republic Commando animated series with Dave Filoni. Yeah, I played Republic Commando for the PS2, right? My neighbor Virgil was we're both Star Wars fans, but he bought a lot of the games from the prequel era, and I was just OT original trilogy all day. So I would buy merchandise because we were in high school when this shit came out. So we didn't really I had a job, he had a job. basically he spent his money on the games and stuff of new Star Wars, and I just bought toys and vintage crap. So like one day when I start doing videos on my collection that I talk about every week, which don't worry, I'll do it soon, it's just filled with stuff from the original films. But I'm all for it. I would like that's one thing I loved about the Clone Wars was the relationship between the sorry about that. That's one thing I loved about the Clone Wars, the relationship between the fans or the clones. I thought that like that military brotherhood that you see in a lot of films was awesome, and I want more of that. Let's see. Suit Yourself again says thank you. First off, your thoughts on digitally overlaying Leia's face on a new actor for a new 7, 8, 9, done respectfully, of course. I'd be up for it personally. I like the idea of overlaying faces digitally. I know it's controversial to say this, but I would be fine with that kind of stuff because not for everything, but for in Star Wars and Indiana Jones, two franchises that have been around for over 40 years. Well, Indiana Jones about for 37, so whatever. My point is, Harrison Ford is Indiana Jones. No one else should play it. I don't think anyone else should play Princess Leia or Luke or even Han. I know we've had a new Han; it didn't work. I would like that kind of stuff. And one thing I do want to say, not just to you, Suit Yourself, but to everyone out there, it's nice to be respectful for certain things, but I don't think it's disrespectful either to continue Princess Leia and stuff like that. I would like, down the road, if they have to make more Indiana Jones movies, find a guy, has the build that can act, and do the stuff you got to do to make it look just like Harrison Ford. We live in a world where we can do that. And more Indiana Jones played by Harrison Ford's awesome. More Carrie Fisher, Princess Leia would be cool. I think if you can do the digital overlay of the faces accurately and make them look young, why not do Thrawn and Yuzon Vong and all that crap prior to Episode 7 where they're old people? That's the one problem with Star Wars. We get to this moment with Luke Skywalker where he's finally a Jedi Knight and we're ready to go to the next saga, but there was no next saga. He was an old man on an island who drank green titty milk and probably pissed in a jar like Jeremy. Like, there's so many missed opportunities with the character of Luke Skywalker. That kind of stuff bothers me. Let's see. Another one from Demanji. First off, thank you. Oh, sorry. Dima Janai. There you go. I correct myself. We will never forget what Lucasfilm did. Good. Don't forget what Lucasfilm did. Don't forget how they treated you and marginalized you. It's so funny how they act like, oh, we're doing these terrible things to to Kelly Marie Tran and all that stuff. But they're doing just as bad things. Like they're attacking and punishing fans who had no interest in hurting Rose Tico. Like, personally, I never shit on her. We call her Potato Sack Tico because what does her costume look like? A potato sack. Kelly Marie Tran, I don't have any kind of prejudice towards women or Asians or anything like that. I shouldn't even have to say that because it's 2018. It kind of just goes without saying. I don't care about, stupid stuff like that. I just want a good character, and Rose Tico sucked. I didn't contact her personally, but I'm not afraid to say it now because it's this, hot button issue. Rose Tico was a crappy character, and I wish the character would have died. No harm to come to the real woman, no ill will, no attacking. But you know what? The character is hot garbage. Okay, Bill Robb, thank you, wants to say that I should call it what it is, Kennedy film. Very true. Bill Robb, by the way, if you watch our videos, you notice I call it Lucasfilm in name only, or Lino for short. So just like Thundercats has been ruined, Lucasfilm or Lino is garbage too. It's kind of sad to see that legacy of that film company become what it has now, because Lucasfilm obviously had Star Wars, Indiana Jones, and that's weird that Star Wars and Indiana Jones, basically Lucasfilm was a 2-franchise production company, and it was able to keep it alive for God so long. What does this say? 77? Well, was Lucasfilm for American Graffiti? I don't know. I've only seen the movie twice. Put it like this: say from the 70s to 2012, Lucasfilm was essentially a 2-franchise thing, and we, the consumer, we, the fans, we ate that shit up left and right. Like, I didn't get tired of any of the Indiana Jones games on PC, console. I loved all that shit. The books, the Star Wars books, the merchandise. It kept it alive, and it was a lot of fun. I think one thing that Disney is fucking up with, well, among many things, our imaginations are way more powerful than anything they can create. When you give the ability to help the fans' like imaginations continue with the characters that you've created, I think you have a winning formula. Never giving us a definitive ending for Han, Luke, and Leia and keeping them alive in perpetuity really worked. Tony Alex says, have you noticed that Dave hasn't lashed out at the fans? Dave Filoni, I'm sorry. First off, thank you, Tony. Yes, I have noticed that. It's really smart to keep quiet during these. Here's the thing. I'm not saying this guy's perfect. I'm a fan, but look at how The Rock treats everybody. Even if you go back before he was super famous as a movie star, when he was just a wrestler who was still successful, listen to how The Rock talks about people. He never talked shit about people directly. He wouldn't say terrible things. And look where he's gotten. I think it works when you are respectful to the fans or just anybody. If you treat people a certain way, it only is going to bring back positivity. And when people are saying all this negative shit on Twitter, just ignore it. That's what I've done. I mean, there are lies about us coming out all the time. And my friend Michael from Retro Blasting gets attacked all the time. Real quick, I did sleep. I had to drive my mom to work. Both of our cars are in the shop, so I'm borrowing her rental, and I'm a little congested, but I'm wide awake. I got a full night's rest. But back to what I'm saying, though. You don't, I hate to use the phrase again, but you don't shit where you eat. You just got to treat these people right. And to the Michael on Retro Blasting thing, if you're a fan of this channel, please go subscribe to his channel and show him some love. Say, I love your content. Just watch it. It's really good stuff. It's not about me trying to plug a friend to help them get views. He's a good guy who's being attacked in the middle of this racist thing, and he's just a victim. He didn't even say the thing that people are pissed off about. And yeah, Bethany, it was awesome when The Rock sang to Vicky. I'm a big fan. Alex Mote, I apologize. First off, thank you. The Last Jedi is the worst Kennedy Johnson disaster since Vietnam. God, I do love how Ethan takes great pleasure in the Kennedy Johnson thing every week. It was a little before my time, but that was a good joke. I appreciate that. And let's just call The Last Jedi what it was, or is, a disaster. I mean, you guys can go out into the real world and see The Last Jedi stuff just wasting away. There's no reason that people, aren't. The only reason people aren't buying this because it's a bad movie, not because people have less money or any of this other crap. I mean, yeah, you got responsibilities, but if you love something, you can find a way to budget it into your thing, in your life. Derek, just by the way, Nick hasn't been on the past couple live streams because Nick had to go out of town. That's why we put out the Bloodsport commentary as opposed to the Cobra Kai roundtable, which we're going to get to. So, just real life stuff. Obviously there's no bad blood between us. I talk to Nick every day, talk to Kendo every day, Dion every day, all my good friends. Everything's good with all the guys on the channel. He's just out of town, but he'll be back tonight for that stuff. And, this weekend when we're going to do our Spinal Tap commentary on Friday night, as well as the Return of the Jedi watch party, which, please, if you can make it 11:30 p.m. Eastern U.S. time, be on that, because I love to have the discussions about the specific films more concentrated during that thing. I think our Star Wars live stream was one of the best things we ever put out in terms of that. And those movies, when you watch good stuff and you surround yourself with the positivity of things you love, the time goes by. That's why we watched 2 movies back to back with Star Wars. We were on an emotional high. That was a good night. Bill Robb, again, thank you very much. Look also at the fact that Ron Howard didn't call us man babies because of the balm of Solo. And yes, I have seen your in name only. Well, first off, thank you for noticing that. Yeah, here's the thing. Ron Howard is old school, consummate professional. I was flipping through channels yesterday before I put on Temple of Doom, and I noticed the Andy Griffith's show was on. Not a fan of the show, never going to act like I am. But Ron Howard has had longevity in Hollywood. I'm not saying this because he's a great guy behind the scenes, but he knows how to treat people. He knows what to do. And yeah, Ron Howard's had a couple flops a string of flops over the last couple years. And it's kind of, unfortunate, but he knows how to treat people because he comes from a different era. He's not as entitled as somebody like a Ryan Johnson who can't handle differing opinions or criticisms. That's not, a normal thing. Ron Howard's a real person. Ryan Johnson's a child with a beard. That's the best way I can put it. Ron Howard is not going to watch today because I said this. He's going to start coming out and attack the fans. But as of now, June 13th, 2018, at 8:41 in the morning Eastern time, Ron Howard's not attacking the fans, and I think that's a smart thing. Disney Lucasfilm could make us happy by releasing the original trilogy cuts on 4K HDR Blu-ray. Yeah. I'm not trying to be controversial. I do like the special edition changes of A New Hope in terms of the Battle of Yavin. And the Battle of Yavin is my favorite part of like my former favorite movie, so it makes it my favorite thing on film. And I'd rather watch the special edition changes. I'm sorry, but yeah, you should put out all the cuts of Star Wars. Hell, I advocate for another cut, another special edition cut. I know it's controversial, and I'm not even going to apologize for my stance, but hear me out. We get rid of Jabba the Hutt. We get rid of the Han shooting first. We touch up the CGI of all the extra shots of the Falcon and the X-Wings and stuff to make it look more modern, to fit in with the new stuff. But we keep the action, the excitement, because there are some shots, I love A New Hope, but where it looks like two people are just taking spaceships and turning them from side to side. That there are certain shots of that battle that don't work, and George Lucas went back to fix them. So, yes, original, yes, special edition, hell, one more cut. I'm not saying I'm going to get hired for the job, but I'd be the right guy. Hi, Lucasfilm. Real quick, before I get to the super chat, somebody said, what about Robert Zemeckis for Star Wars? Robert Zemeckis is 1985, 89, Roger Rabbit, Back to the Future, that kind of stuff. Yeah, I love Back to the Future is my favorite movie. I have nothing but positive things to say about it. Remember, though, it's Robert Zemeckis, Bob Gale, Michael J. Fox. All these people will come together to make these movies what they are. I haven't seen Forrest Gump all the way through. Yeah, I know, heresy. But I think certain people are at the right place at the right time, and they have the right combination. Like with Back to the Future, they essentially shot that movie twice in terms of everyone but Michael J. Fox, because Eric Stoltz was the original Marty. It just didn't work. You can go back and listen to Thomas F. Wilson talk about that. You can go back and hear all kinds of people discuss the failures of the original shooting of Back to the Future, which I would kill for a copy of, not literally. Point is, it works when you have the right people. I don't know if Robert Zemeckis being involved, but with the current story group, would work. I mean, I don't mean to say this to build up my ego, but you need somebody like me that's just going to go and say, listen, the last ones have sucked. We're fucking done. Everyone's fired. Bring in new people. Like, if there was some magical powers that made me the head of Marvel Comics, I know this sounds crazy, I would fire everyone involved with the storytelling. I'd keep the artists, and I'd be like, yo, this is what we're doing, and you get new people. There are millions of people out there that want to create this shit. You got to just wipe the slate clean. This one comes from Nose Meaguita Pariente? I don't know. First off, thank you. They just sent in $5, so I appreciate that. No se me aguite pariente. Is that Spanish? Ray Dawn says, can there be time travel in the Star Wars universe? I'm sure there could be. Is there? Maybe? I feel like there was something that came out that I missed. Just as long as it's not Looper time travel. Because nobody wants more Looper in their life. Actually, nobody wants more Rian Johnson. Looper wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen. Lives in Flames. Liven's Flames says, hold on, a woman driver story. Goddamn, that's that's pretty funny. Oh, it's offensive, but you know what? It's a goddamn joke. People of every walk of life can laugh at a joke. Let's get over that shit. Oh, wow, these are really rolling in. Rebels had the time travel. Okay. I knew something had popped up. You guys got to understand, I do make these videos and I do try to pay attention to the news. And sometimes I don't get to read everything or talk about it. And then new stuff comes out and I keep, I miss it. So that's why I'm doing these. I'm going to start doing these more often to talk to you guys about the smaller topics so we can keep this thing rolling and have a lot of fun. Real quick, again, what happened with Retro Blasting? Okay, so I had a live stream. It was awesome. It had almost 5,000 people watching it. It's got 130,000 views. The live stream I did with Retro Blasting, Mauler, and Razor Fist. It was fantastic. Some asshole on another podcast who has like 5 downloads. I'm not even going to name them so you guys don't. First off, I don't want you to check them out and harass them. Secondly, I don't want you to give them your time. Fuck them. They're not worth your time or mine. But they chose to attack Michael over a joke that Razor Fist made and Mauler made. 2 jokes that weren't even offensive. They were funny. I laughed. You can blame me all you want. But Michael got roped in. They said he's a racist. After a while, they wanted him to say, well, I denounce everybody, and, they'll retract the claim. And Michael refused. Michael personally named me and said he refuses to throw me under the bus. I'm a professional and a friend and all this stuff. So there's always been respect for Michael. Been watching him for years, and there's definitely respect there. And now that we've collaborated on videos, like you guys, there's some off-air stuff. It's not even private, just the off-air stuff from our first recording. It's gold. Like the stuff that he and I did is some of the best stuff I think World Class Bullshitters has ever put out. He and I are just on the same wavelength in terms of entertainment and Star Wars and the way we feel about stuff. And I brought him on because I thought Razor Fist is the comedian, Mahler has the European take, Michael has the older approach. And I'm not trying to call him an old man, but he's older than I am. So he has a wider scope of Star Wars knowledge. And then there's me, who has this platform and my knowledge of Star Wars and my knowledge of entertainment. And we came together and we created a phenomenal live stream. And I'm not trying to build myself up, but it was great. Most of you probably watched it. It was awesome. It was at 5 p.m. in the afternoon, but we had so many people. One of the best things we've ever done, in my opinion. But because someone made a joke about finding the Rose Tico figures in the ethnic food aisle, they blamed Michael of Retroblasting, and it got dirty. Friday and Saturday, he was getting thrown under the bus left and right by, honestly, it was probably like 10 or 15 people, but they were really going hard after him. And now they're going after me, but here's the thing. I don't care about those people. I just felt bad that my friend Michael was getting shit on because, of something he didn't even do. And now they're trying to say that I'm calling for Rose Tico's death and I hate Asian people and this and that and the other. But the funny thing is, it doesn't work with a guy like me because they're trying to flag our videos first off. We don't do anything that they say we do. It's funny. People are trying to attack us on Twitter, and the fans are coming out and being like, hey, make sure you watch these videos to see all the terrible things they're talking about. It's sarcasm. Because not once do we ever call for anything bad to happen to Kelly Marie Tran. We just say Rose Tico is a lame character. You guys know it. I don't need to reiterate the situation. But I just wanted to give you guys the story and let you know that you guys should be checking out Retroblast and tell them I sent you. I don't care. You can mention Jeff or World Class Bullshitters or whatever, but the guy's had a rough week, and the guy does nothing but put out good content with a positive spin, and he's just a victim of something he's not even guilty of at all. Guilt by association is why people are upset. Oh, God, some asshole named Dion Green sent in a $2 super chat. Make him show the proof. They'll fall apart. Dion, obviously we're friends, so I don't have to say this part, but you and I know each other. We've known each other for a decade. You prefaced all of your statements or opinions with that statement, we don't dislike her, we just dislike the character, and you're black. So they don't really have any kind of argument. Plus, I'm like a super minority that they can't really attack world-class bullshitters. It's funny, they talk about diversity and this and that. Well, we're here to show you that you can have a diverse podcast that isn't about diversity. We just come from diverse walks of life that have, a take on entertainment, and the fans love it. It's not really about, having your brown quota. It's about having good stuff and good people, and, we got that. And no, I'm not going to apologize ever. I stand by everything that I've personally said on the channel. I will never try to control someone's free speech that comes on the channel. Obviously, I'm not going to have, card-carrying racists. Hey, Kendo, what's up? Thank you. I'm not going to have card-carrying racists on the channel, but at the same time, if someone makes a joke and I find it funny, I'm not going to apologize for it. Humor, like I think it's Mel Brooks that said, political correctness is the death of comedy. And that's true. That is a problem. Entertainment in terms of comedy is just garbage right now. Amy Schumer's not funny. Comedy Central is not funny. When they're not showing reruns of South Park, Futurama, or proactive paid ads in the morning, like Comedy Central just puts out garbage. I think the funny thing is the people that are offended are a minority. They don't really give a shit about consuming these products anyway. They wouldn't do it in the first place. So I don't think that you need to cater to that small vocal minority in the Twitterverse, the Tumblr blogs, all that shit. Those aren't your audiences. Your average everyday person. I'm going to say average everyday American because I really don't know the situation in other parts of the world. I can't even begin to speak on that. But here in America, it seems like your average everyday person is very, aware of jokes and humor, and they like it, and they like to love and laugh and live and all that other shit. So in women aren't these like weird objects that need to be defended. No, they can protect themselves, and people respect each other, and the world is not this bad place that the SJW marketplace wants you to believe. We have another super chat from Suit Yourself. Thank you very much. Have you created a BitChute backup channel yet? It auto mirrors your YouTube content. SJW's got my channel terminated. Nearly 40,000 subs, so I'm on BitChute now. Well, let me look into that. I'm going to write that down in this notebook. Here's the thing, though. First off, I apologize that you've had that stuff happen to you. I just don't know. Like, they would first off, these people don't watch the content. I know that. So they're going to have to like actually find us saying these terrible things, which we don't. You know, we don't have these terrible racial radical views, and I don't think they're going to come after. I don't think the thing is, they'll have to go against themselves and their platform to attack somebody like me, because they always say, oh, this and that, and you can't attack minorities. We need to stand up and defend them. Well, our channel is 3/4 of that. You guys don't give a shit, but by attacking us and stuff like that, they basically go against their cause. So I don't know. And somebody said you need to watch some Andrew Dice Clay. Oh, I've watched Andrew Dice Clay. I like stand-up. I've gone to shows, not of his, but I'm a comedy guy. I enjoy it. I used to like Louis C.K., but he fell off. And it wasn't even his his jerking off thing. For me, the Louis C.K. train derailed when he put out that last Netflix series. Or not Netflix series, Netflix stand-up. Brendan Horn, thank you very much for the super chat. Sorry if this is off topic. I'm behind on the stream. Rose is worse than Jar Jar. At least Jar Jar won the battle he participated in through his idiocy. Rose ruined hers. Well, Brendan, first off, again, thank you. Yeah, Rose is worse than Jar Jar Binks. I think in the lineage of terrible Star Wars characters, it used to be King Jar Jar Binks. Now it's L337, Rose Tico, and Admiral Holdo. Not because they're females or have women's voices in terms of the robot. It's because their characters are bad. Conversely, if I were to rank the best Star Wars characters, Princess Leia would be damn near the top because she's awesome and a woman. And I just didn't all of a sudden start to hate female movie characters, because I don't hate female movie characters. You're right, though, about Jar Jar. He did win the battle through idiocy. But Jar Jar is a dumb character. When I say Jar Jar is not the worst of the worst, it doesn't mean he's good by any means. He's still a garbage character that they don't need to make any more merchandise of, and that we don't need to even think about. Jar Jar Binks was a mistake. I think if you cut out Jar Jar Binks from episode 1, you tighten up the script, there is a decent story to be told. Hell, if you combine episode 1 and 2 together and cut out some of the fat, you have a much better story. I think Anakin and Obi-Wan being like, he talks about, you were my brother, show that a little more, and instead of showing when you meet him as a child and build that brother relationship, you have a much stronger story. But Rose Tico did ruin the day by saving what we love. Like, I know Rian Johnson wrote that, but did he ever say it out loud? Like, when I write stuff for the channel, I say stuff out loud to make sure it doesn't sound fucking retarded. But that Rose Tico line is stupid. Believe me. Let's see. We had another super chat pop up from Suit Yourself. Suit Yourself, thank you so much. You're the real MVP, dog. But I don't want to discredit Brendan Horn as well. Thanks to everyone who's helping the channel grow. I really appreciate it. You have no clue. I mean, every day I wake up, we gain tons of subscribers and everything's going. So thank you to all you. And we're going to keep this going. There's no stopping world-class bullshitters. Suit Yourself. Oh, don't apologize. Just letting you know about BitChute's auto-mirroring. Set it up once, forget about it. That way, if anything is flagged, it's safe. I wrote that down. And yeah, but the thing is, it sucks that your channel got shut down. That's a lot of hard work. Look, we have this channel. And I know how much work it is. Like, this is my thing. This is all I do. No complaints. Love doing it. I mean, do I want to sleep around all day and watch Back to School or something? Yeah, that'd be a great day. But it's good for like 1 or 2 days a month. Other than that, I'm always working on this. And you shouldn't have your work taken away by a bunch of idiots who don't create. They just tear down. Real quick, if somebody wants to hear about the Wills again, basically it was a microbiotic group of beings that feed off the Force itself. So I guess that brings back midichlorians. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Midichlorians are shitty. Somebody has a question about Dave Chappelle's Netflix stand-up. I did watch his comeback one, and I didn't like it, so I turned it off. And then I think he has a third one or a fourth. Whatever the third one was, if there is a third one, I definitely liked that one. For me, Dave Chappelle, like growing up in the early 2000s, Chappelle Show was the high watermark for entertainment in terms of comedy. Like back to Comedy Central. Dude, I would watch Chappelle Show reruns every day that they would play them. Like, I'd put it on the cable box. I'd figure this was before DVR, or at least before we had one. And I would look at, Chappelle Show's on for 4 hours. I'm watching Chappelle Show for 4 hours. Dave Chappelle was awesome. And then the shit happened with him, and he kind of went away. And he came back, and he's funny, but he's not the same Dave Chappelle. So maybe that's why I didn't get into it too much. Ray Don, thank you. Thoughts on Chris Stuckman? He gave The Last Jedi an A-. Well, here are my thoughts on Chris Stuckman. And this is going to answer a couple questions that you guys normally have about shills and other channels. There was a time where I really thought Chris Stuckman was awesome. He was entertaining. He was informative. He was well thought out in his opinions. Then I saw his... I'm going to give him one more piece of praise. He put out his Spider-Man 1 review. Even Movie Bob put out something about Spider-Man 1. I was fucking impressed with that one too. But Chris Stuckman put out this one. He praised the movie. He gave it all these positives, and even brought up the whole Green Goblin Power Ranger suit. Like, where does that come from? It's just a thing the internet perpetuates. So Chris Stuckman was cool in my book. I stopped watching around the times he appeared on movie fights, and maybe around The Force Awakens, because I thought his Force Awakens review was garbage. But here's one thing that people don't understand. It doesn't bother me if people have differing opinions from me. It's just that I dislike certain movies, and I just don't know how certain times they come to these conclusions. Like, did we watch the same thing? So I'm not a Chris Stuckman fan anymore, because on movie fights, he sat and praised, Tomorrowland's going to be incredible. Brad Bird, Brad Bird. All he said were the name Brad Bird constantly as a defense. I saw Tomorrowland. It sucked. I stopped listening to his recommendations and his hilariosities and stuff like that, because it's like, look, everyone can talk about The Room and Samurai Cop. I get it. I've seen the movies myself. So I just stopped watching him, not because he's praising Disney Star Wars, but I do think he has something to lose by being vehemently opposed to this shit the way we are. We don't answer to sponsors. We don't answer to corporate entities. We do what we want to do the way we do it. I've turned down offers to join MCNs and all that crap left and right, because I like the freedom to do this. I mean, I sat down on my computer. I wanted to do a live stream. 1,000 people were watching. People give a shit about this take on entertainment. So instead of being controlled, I'll keep it pure for as long as I can. So in a roundabout way, not a fan, but I'm not going to call him an outright shill and make videos about him. For me, people like that eventually lose relevancy, and they just go away and they fade off into obscurity. So instead of attacking Chris Stuckman and his bad opinions on, well, you can have a wrong opinion if you're not informed, but his isn't a wrong opinion. I just disagree with his opinion on The Last Jedi. So I'm going to let him live in his fantasy world of his A-, The Last Jedi film, because we clearly didn't watch the same movie. And I'm just going to go on and do other stuff. Talk to you guys. Corey Reeve, thank you. Were the best female action heroes written by James Cameron, e.g. Terminator 2 and Aliens? Well, Corey, I will agree with you on half of that, because remember, Ripley wasn't created by James Cameron. Ripley was a part of Alien, which I think Dan O'Bannon wrote. So I will give that one to Dan O'Bannon and Ridley Scott and Sigourney Weaver for the creation of that. Ellen Ripley was awesome in Aliens, and Sarah Connor was pretty cool in Terminator 2. I think she's a shitty mother, but she's an interesting character. So yeah, I will go with half of that statement is correct. James Cameron has the ability to direct the best female action stars. So yeah, I agree with that. And I just really love Terminator 2. If I can just say that for a moment without derailing anything, I just fucking love Terminator 2. Bill Robb, again, thank you. The Wills are like the Watchers. Oh, okay. By the way, the Watcher, like from Marvel, because if you're talking about that, I get it. I love when Uatu would show up, especially those What If stories back in the day. If you guys have read a lot of Marvel comics and you've checked out the What If stories, let me know in the comments. Teresa Martin, thank you very much. She just sent in a super chat without a... Oh, never mind. It's right here. Sorry. There are moments I could swear Kelly was crying. Or sorry, I could swear there are moments where Kelly was cringing as she said the lines. Kelly has charisma. Ryan wrote it out for her. Yeah, you can tell that the woman knows about this shit. Like, the personality she has on the interviews and stuff like that is completely different. I do feel sorry for someone that keeps getting shit on social media, but it is part of the territory. I mean, I'm not even 1/10 as relevant as she was, and I get crap all the time. But you know what? You just gotta let it roll off your back, and you don't need people to, like, make assumptions about stuff. I'm sure she was attacked for being a bad character as well as being Asian as a woman. It just comes with the internet. I'm not justifying those people that did it to her, but it just comes with the territory. And Rian Johnson is a charisma vacuum. He sucked out all the life from these people with his weird, stupid views and his garbage. So she's the victim here of him. He's the perpetrator in all this. Rigo Vide, there is no redemption for what they did to Luke Skywalker. In the current timeline, I agree 100%. Luke Skywalker is dead. I'm just hoping Mark Hamill shuts up in public about it. Not necessarily shuts up about his dislike of what they've done with Luke Skywalker, but shuts up and attacking the fans. It's kind of like, come on, Mark. We had your back this whole time. Please don't do this to us. 10A says, new to your guys' shit. I want your opinion on the Darth Plagueis book and the Darth Bane trilogy. Personally, I think they smash all the movies. I have to read the Darth Bane trilogy. I'm guilty of not reading a bunch of Star Wars books. My reasoning is I'm just busy with the channel. I haven't read a lot of books. Our friend Rue just sent me an audiobook that I need to listen to. I'm going to start listening to that soon. A guy, I think his name was Andrew, I don't remember his last name, he sent me a copy of The Last Jedi audiobook, and I listened to about half of it, and then I got sidetracked with other stuff for the channel. I still owe that guy a video, so thank you, Andrew, if you still listen to the show. But I do need to check that out. I'm sure they're better than the movies. I'm sure a lot of the content that is put in the books is better than the movies. I think there's a book called, was it Crimson Empire or something that followed some Imperial Guard regiment or something like that was better. The best way for me to consume Star Wars stuff is books on tape or CD. I mean, God, they don't even make tapes anymore. So I need to do some stuff like that. But I will check that out. Paul McBride, thank you again, Paul McBride. You think AT&T can help save the DCEU? Paul, I don't think the DCEU is beyond saving, and I don't think that you should not want to save it. I think you should save the DCEU. I don't know if it's AT&T that can do it. Somebody can. And what I recommend is twofold. First off, if we could time travel and make the DCEU an extension of the Christian Bale Batman movies, I think we would have been way ahead of where we are now, and Marvel would have had real competition because remember all the goodwill and positivity that came with those Nolan films. I'm not saying I love the Nolan films like other people, but God damn it, 2008 was the year of Batman. Like, seriously, you could 2008, 2009, 2010, like up until the Avengers came out in 2012, Batman, that was the era of Batman again. Like, you had it in the 89 through 97 with the old Batman series, and then Spider-Man kind of took over for the beginning of the millennium, and then it went back to Batman. They're getting rid of all these people at DC. I think they need to just get away from the Zack Snyder shit, make a superhero movie, make a Superman 2 with Henry Cavill, make it light, fun, more accurate screen costume, bring back the true nature of Superman, and let's just kind of act like all that shit was a dream. Or announce that this is what, Earth 2? Or another universe, another dimension, make a Crisis on Infinite Earth story, have this universe be destroyed on film and bring back the real Superman, the real Batman, all this shit. Do it like that. There is a way you can save it, and it's worth saving if you ask my opinion. Brian Lape, good friend Brian Lape. Do you sleep? Did you sleep? Yeah, Brian, I'm just congested right now. I slept quite well. I've been up for a couple hours. Looking forward to Friday's live stream. I am too, Brian. Starting to see comments on my channel from people who found me through World Class Bullshitters. Thanks, everyone. Yeah, folks, if you like what we do, we got to thank Brian Lape, because Brian Lape was the official timekeeper of World Class Bullshitters. He's the 5th unofficial member. He's done a lot of stuff for the channel that you guys didn't even realize. So as a favor to us, check out his channel. He reviews all kinds of stuff like beer, power, bar supplements. If you want to better your life through health, Brian Lape's the right guy to talk to, because he's really knowledgeable on training and food and all kinds of stuff. So if you're, a little health conscious and you'd like some entertainment with it and jokes, Brian Lape, that's the name of the channel. Check it out. Let's see. Where did that one go from Mr. Bill Robb? Rian Johnson went from suck to blow. Bill Robb, somebody commented the other day on our Facebook page how we recommended Spaceballs, and they hated it. And I was just like, what? How do you hate Spaceballs? And then they told me they hated Ghostbusters. But they did say they liked Beverly Hills Cop and Die Hard. So 2 of my 4 favorite movies they liked. Another 2 they hated. But that's a good comment. I fucking love Spaceballs. I have Spaceballs, the bumper sticker. Brian Finley, what's with the people who think Revenge of the Sith is better than Return of the Jedi? Well, let's talk about that for a moment, Brian. When I saw Revenge of the Sith in 2005, I was on an emotional high. Gotta remember, for the previous 6 years, the prequels had sucked, and this one comes out and it didn't suck, and we're all like, oh my god, it's better than Return of the Jedi. Through time, I've realized I was an asshole and how wrong people are for saying that Return of the Jedi is not as good as Revenge of the Sith. There are moments of greatness in both films, but Return of the Jedi is the conclusion of the Star Wars saga we all know and love. Yes, the Ewoks are dumb, but it has a great space battle, a really awesome emotional lightsaber duel. The dialogue between the Emperor and Luke is great. There was a lot of substance there. And yeah, Han Solo is not as effective as he was in the previous two films, but his role was shifted to something that was necessary. So I love Return of the Jedi. On Saturday night, when I talk about it live here on the channel, 11:30 p.m. Eastern Time, you're going to hear a lot of love and praise for it. Yeah, there are problems with the film, but there are really awesome moments overall that I'm just really, really into, and I'm not one of those people anymore. Now, Revenge of the Sith has some really great moments too. It has some dumb moments, but overall, I would still call it a success of a film. Is it my fourth favorite Star Wars movie? I would need to watch it and Rogue One back to back and see how I feel about that afterwards. Revenge of the Sith is a fine film. I'm not here to throw it under the bus. But to say Return of the Jedi is weaker by comparison, I can't say that anymore. I'm not there as a person anymore. I don't think we are there as a franchise in Star Wars anymore. The novelty wore off. Now, one thing I would like to say is I actually saw Revenge of the Sith on two different continents. It came out in 2005, so I saw it opening day. My mom let me take off school, and then over the summer of 2005, I went to Spain on a trip. And when we were over there, it was a group, and we all got to split up one night. I wanted to go to the nightclubs and hang out, but they were kind of like weird about it. Even though I was old enough to go drink at a place or do those things, they didn't let me. So me and the group of the guys, we all went to see Star Wars in Spain. And it was bizarre because it was all in English. So I loved it. It was just like watching the movie again. But that's the only thing I could say. I saw Star Wars on two continents, Episode 3, and it was fun. Now, the video game for Episode 3 was cool. The toy line was cool because I know I've said this on other videos, but I'll reiterate this. Star Wars toys with each film advanced the technology in terms of the more modern stuff, not the original trilogy. They all had the same points of articulation and X, Y, and Z. But Episode 1 toys integrated like bicep swivels and cuts like that, so lightsabers could be held with two hands. Episode 2 brought in more articulation, like wrist articulation. Episode 3 brought in tons more articulation and gave us a lot of the modern Star Wars figures we have. So back then, each new Star Wars movie brought something new to like every aspect of Star Wars. Hell, Battlefront 2 was a big improvement over the first one. So we need to get back to that because everything with Disney Star Wars regresses. Everything is like 2 steps forward, 20 steps backwards, and we're in a worse place than we started. Rostakayan 3, thank you. The issue that I had with Rian Johnson is the comedy and poor jokes, like the Iron scene alluding to Hardware Wars. It's insulting to serious fans. Rostakind or Kind, yeah, I agree that the humor is a problem. It takes away from the gravity of the situation. I don't like that there's misplaced jokes. I think that's trying to tap into the Marvel thing. Wow. That taps into the Marvel thing, and that doesn't work in Star Wars. Rian Johnson is not a funny guy from what I can tell. He thinks he's funny. He thinks he's this like cool, personable guy, but he's really that weirdo that takes photos in high school and doesn't talk to anybody at lunch and thinks everyone's an asshole, but he's the asshole. So I am with you on the mistimed humor. I think the mistimed humor, the lack of respect for Luke, the stupid story, everything compounded together makes the problem of The Last Jedi that much shittier. X Dalek, wow, this is the biggest super chat I've ever received on a personal one. Thank you very much. Thanks for all the good content. And thank you. I appreciate that. I really do. I mean, when you guys thank me for the content, I'm appreciative of the responses that I get. I mean this. I love doing this. This is so much fun. Like, we've been live for what, 80 minutes, 90 minutes? It's great. It's just rolling by. I just love the interaction I have. Like I always used to say to Dion, if people could hang out and have the same conversations we do with us, everyone would want to talk. And I think that's what we've done with this channel. We've basically tapped into the conversations that we have in our personal lives, but we have it with thousands of people and soon to be millions of people. And it's really nice that you guys are receptive to that. So thank you for listening to the content. I really appreciate it. Let's see. Read a few more. May the moist be with you, Bjorn. Real quick, here's a personal story, Bjorn, just for you. So when I go to Phil's house, the guy that used to be on the channel, every time I order pizza, I give a fake name of Bjorn Peterson. And every time they come to the house to deliver the pizza, they think we're bullshitting them because we pay cash. But Bjorn is my pizza name. So every time you post something, Bjorn, I'm going to laugh and think of Bjorn Peterson, my fictional Swedish guy I even do an accent for when I order the pizza. And, there's a little bit about me. Riff Raff, thank you. I appreciate that. It's not slowing down. I was going to say, it feels like the natural conclusion to stop the stream, but it's actually picking up more than it's been. So real quick, let's talk about the Moist. I think Brandon Moist's contributions to this channel cannot be thanked enough. The Moist segment of World Class Bullshitters is one of my all-time favorites. I had to drink some coffee to keep my mouth moist. So I'm glad you guys are receptive to that. Like I said, I know one person mentioned about going back to the Skype podcast. You can't get this from that. So I don't know. Thank you. Yeah, Bjork to the pizza delivery guy. It's usually a woman that delivers the pizza. I go, yeah, this is Bjorn, like that. And then I have cash in my hand, so they don't question it. Once they see the money, they know it's not a troll job. Yes, generic edgelord, 1,000 people now. I'm excited. Bring Luke back. You could bring Luke back as a Force ghost, but do you want Luke back after what they've done with him? Like, they could tell me, hey, Jeff, we're gonna bring back Han Solo. I don't know. I don't think the death was the worst part of Han Solo. I think ruining his character arc, making him a deadbeat father, running out on his family, losing the Millennium Falcon, that was the offensive part to Han Solo for me. That was the part that that's the part that I hated the most. So I don't know if I want to bring back Luke. It's, is it worth it? Bring Luke back in the physical form. Oh, okay. Yeah, I think they said Mark Hamill's not coming back at 9. We know Carrie Fisher won't be back. Haha, bad joke. Oh, wow. X-Dolic again. Thank you again. I want Gareth Edwards to make another movie. I loved Rogue One. I gave Rogue One really high marks when it came out. Go back and listen to the review. I was ecstatic. Like, I don't normally do this, but like I got a phone call from Dustin and we were like, that movie was so awesome. I just had to tell somebody. Like, we were really hyped. Like, me personally, I was hyped because I hated Episode 7 and they cut out so much of the crap I hated about Episode 7 in Rogue One. Being honest, I did go back and watch it and it went down a little bit, but I don't hate the movie. It is a toss-up. Which is my 4th favorite Star Wars film? Is it Return of the Jedi? Is it Rogue One? So I'm with you there about Gareth Edwards coming back. I know it seems counterproductive, but I do like when we see like original X-Wings and TIE Fighters. But with that being said, I think they should have evolved past X-Wings and TIE Fighters for the Episode 7, 8, and 9 era. I think that's just bad design and laziness. Like, say what you will about George Lucas, but under his reign, the prequels all had new and different ships. I mean, Episode 1 had the Naboo Starfighter, the Pod Racers, and that really cool Queen's Royal ship, which has a really underrated toy. That was a neat design. It was metallic and neat and sleek. Episode 2, you had that really cool thing that looked like an old plane. You had the Jedi Starfighter. Yeah, Slave 1 was already around, so I can't really give that to the prequels. And then you had some newer stuff in Episode 3. You had the Republic fighters and all the cruisers and all that stuff. Let's be honest with ourselves. Episode 7, what do we have? Black X-Wings and black TIE Fighters. What do we have in Episode 8? Black X-Wings, black TIE Fighters, and we had those really lame bombers. Like, the funny thing is, you bring in a new bomber, yet the Y-Wing was more effective. Why wouldn't you stick with what works? I mean, you want to get the nostalgia bucks, bring in the Y-Wing bombers. But they don't. They do stupid stuff. Is there anything realistically that could make Episode 9 worth seeing? Okay, thank you for putting realistically, because I love the enthusiasm that we have towards, you know, what if they do this? What if they do that? But I think we do need to think realistically because they're lazy And if they're this lazy with stuff where they, they're this lazy in a good mood, think about how lazy they'll be in a bad mood. I really don't think with the course they're going on, I think they're going to double down on this crap. Seriously, I'm not trying to be like diversity in comics when I say, they always double down, but they're doubling down on this shit hardcore and now attacking the fans. I guarantee you by episode 9, Rey is going to be like lifting planets and shit. She's going to be doing all this force training that no one could even, like, if you guys ever played The Force Unleashed where you stop the Star Destroyer, Rey's going to do something like that with her fucking pinky. Like, that's what we're going to get in episode 9. Realistically, we're just going to get more hot garbage. We're going to see Rose Tico promoted. We're going to see Finn promoted, which is, Finn is like somebody said earlier, is a lost cause. Like, he could have been that character where PTSD, war flashbacks, this, that, and the other. But no, he's a fucking janitor. It's all played up for a joke. Like, you ruined all the possibilities of the character for a joke. Like, I love jokes. I love humor. We were talking about stand-up earlier on this stream. But we don't have anything, like, there's no meat left with him. Poe Dameron has been emasculated beyond belief. Poe Dameron could have been the guy that the kids look up to. Oh, he's the cool starfighter pilot. Everybody wants to be like Poe. But we're not allowed to have male characters like that anymore because they tell us. But people love Iron Man and Star-Lord, and I'm trying to think of other Marvel characters that aren't as divisive as, like, Spider-Man. Because, everyone has their own opinion on Tom Holland, this, that, and the other. So you just need that guy as a character for these people to resonate with these people. And when you have a character like that, then you want the whole crew, then you buy the merchandise, you get the game, you want to be involved, you see yourself as a character. What little boy wants to see themselves as Poe Dameron? Emasculated by a woman with purple hair? That's not your future. PJ Santillo says, first world-class bullshitters video I ever saw was your 2016 Ghostbusters rant. I knew then I was going to dig your content. Keep it up. Thank you, PJ. I'm glad if you saw it when it came out. I'm glad you've stuck with us all this time. As you can see, we've been, pumping out content for close to 3 years now. The Ghostbusters situation was the precursor to where we are now. I think if, they always say history repeats itself. That's what they've done with, sorry, JJ the Jet Plane. God damn it. That fucking show. But that's what they've done with Star Wars. They're going back to that same thing. And I'd argue to everyone that is on the right side of history in terms of the Star Wars argument, us, use the same logic and reasoning that you used for Ghostbusters with Star Wars. It's not about gender. It's not about identity politics. It's about lazy rehashes and unnecessary films. Solo bombed. Make sure episode 9 isn't this massive success and make the next 18 months seem like a futile effort. I mean, there's a lot of people that are going hardcore at this stuff for a good reason. It's, Star Wars is something we've all loved. Entertainment is something we've all loved. Like, this goes beyond Star Wars. If this was DC movies, I would be talking about it. If this was James Bond movies, look, if they put this shit into James Bond movies, I hope you guys are ready for a fucking war, because I will not go for that shit. I will not sit still while they make James Bond something he's not. That it's all about the authenticity of the character, like maintain the character's true nature. You gotta do that kind of stuff. It's worth it. Any form of entertainment is worth saving. So Star Wars is just the biggest one, and it's the biggest battle. Like, to save Star Wars, it will be a reflection for everyone else that tries to infuse these garbage politics into any form of entertainment. Let's see. You hate the new James Bond, Corux. I'm not a Daniel Craig fan either. My favorites are Connery and Pierce Brosnan, Dalton, Lazenby. I don't really like Roger Moore. I was genuinely sad when he died because, it's the first Bond that died and all that stuff, and I was taken aback. And then Adam West. And I loved Adam West. He was actually almost James Bond once. But it just saddens me that Daniel Craig hates playing James Bond. And basically, they're bending over backwards to keep him around. Yet somebody like a Pierce Brosnan, who, admittedly, I'll never deny Die Another Day is a terrible film. But Pierce Brosnan was not a bad James Bond. He loved it. He brought a lot to it. And for many people, he was James Bond in such a big way. Like, for somebody like me, not only was he in the films, he was on the video games. He was everywhere. And before the Marvel movies came out, the Bond films were like the events of each year. and he was there at the center of it, and he was cool about it. And even if you just played Goldeneye, he was your James Bond. So Daniel Craig, please go away soon. Retire. Enjoy your retirement with your wife and your new kid, and stop fucking up James Bond. Let's see. Bill Robb again. Thank you very much. I found World-Class Bullshitters after paying to see The Last Jedi in the theater and was glad to know I wasn't alone. Geeks and Gamers, John talks Star Wars too. You guys like the crossovers we've been doing, like with the High Council? Because we're loving it. And last night we talked. We got a bunch of ideas. So I'm glad you guys are sticking around for all that stuff. All right. Wow. Another big super chat. Thank you, 10A or 10E or Teen. I apologize for butchering the name. What do you think Disney's endgame is with Star Wars? I mean, movie after movie, every year, books, whatever. What happens when everything they're doing has been fully milked? Will they wait 10 years and restart the cycle? Well, let's talk about this one. Okay, so their endgame with Star Wars obviously is money. The endgame is money for everything. Now, it seems like Lucasfilm's endgame is ideology, which has superseded the money because they're Lucasfilm. They're a billion-dollar company. They feel like, oh, they're untouchable. So that is their endgame. I think once the Star Wars cycle has dried up, and it will dry up, and it's drying up quicker than they expect. Like, we're in the point where, like, it's already, like when it rains, it's wet, and there's everything. And then it gets really hot, and there's, like, a little bit of a puddle left. That's where we are now. It's not completely dried up yet. There's a little bit of a puddle. But they're there way sooner than they thought. I mean, we are 3 years, not even 3 years removed from The Force Awakens, and we're already having these discussions. I don't think they ever thought that. I think they fucked up, though, by being lazy and doing that. Now, to answer your other question, what will they do after they've fully milked it? I don't think they'll ever admit that it's been fully milked. I think they'll try to do soft reboots and stuff like that, and they'll never wait 10 years. See, that's the beauty of what Lucas did. George Lucas was ready to move on from Star Wars right after Return of the Jedi. Like, go back and watch the Toys That Made Us documentary. Kenner, here in Cincinnati, had a whole bunch of Star Wars toys lined up. But George Lucas himself, he wasn't interviewed in the documentary, but they quoted him as saying he was ready to move on to something else. So let's say from 1985, because there was the stuff that came out in 84, let's say from 85 to 95, effectively, Star Wars lived on in the imaginations of the fans, and yeah, there was a Laserdisc release in the early 90s, but it wasn't until the one last time VHS box set with the THX, the Faces as they call, came out, then Star Wars came back, and you had a 10-year gap where people waited, or there was a wait, people got excited again, it was refreshing to see old shit. That's the right way to do it. The big problem with that is if you wait 10 years, people aren't going to be excited for what they put out. I mean, the old Star Wars movies were universally praised. The first one and Empire are two of the greatest movies ever made, and I like Return of the Jedi just fine. But you're never going to go back and become nostalgic for Episode 7 because it's a rehash of Episode 4. No one's going to be nostalgic for Episode 8 because it's Episode 8. It's a bad movie. So that 10-year cycle, if anything, it's only going to strengthen the originals and possibly strengthen the love for the prequels like it's doing now. Not because the prequels are magically these magical movies that were great. I think it's because it's like, yeah, these weren't that good, but they're better than what we have now. Therefore, people are kind of like a little softer on them. The movies themselves didn't change, but everything else around them did. And therefore, when everything else is shittier, that looks better by proxy. So they'll never fully restart the cycle. Maybe they'll start pushing out more Han Solo and Luke Skywalker merchandise and stuff like that. But you never know. We got to see what happens. Jeff the Iron Wolf, more pumped for Mission Impossible than Star Wars. Me too. I will watch Mission Impossible in theaters right away. We'll talk about it on a stream like this. I'm not saying that we're going to cover every movie and do that kind of stuff, but I've been a Mission Impossible fan since way back in, was it 96? Yeah. I used to rent Mission Impossible on tape, and I owned GoldenEye. I'd watch those movies back to back. I was a huge spy fan as a kid. And Mission Impossible, I love the first one. I don't know which Mission Impossible is my favorite. Maybe the first one. Renz, has Disney made their $4 billion back from Star Wars? Well, I'm sure we could sit down and figure out the public costs and stuff like that. Now, remember, we never know exactly what they spend on marketing. It's usually assumed that it's 2.5 times its budget is the entire product, or the cost of the movie. So I'm sure they've made a lot of money, but I don't think they've necessarily made what they want. Let me think about that for a quick second. So if The Force Awakens made $2 billion and it cost X, Y, and Z, I'd say they've made their $4 billion back, probably just on The Force Awakens. But remember, there's other costs and stuff like that. So I think they're going to be hurting in the future more than we realize, especially with something like Hasbro, who pays the licensing fee up front, and then Disney gets a cut as well. I don't think the Star Wars brand holds the same value it did whenever they renewed it recently. So they're going to lose money in the long run. Let's see. Did I miss one? Yeah, this one comes from Bill Robb. My worst fear, they remake the originals. Please, don't say those things. All joking aside, Bill, I remember about 14 years ago, you remember when you're in high school and you're supposed to be doing homework and other shit, and you fall down the internet rabbit hole and you don't pay attention for like 6 hours straight? Well, that's what happened to me. I was on some website as a kid, some forum, and they basically talked about remaking Star Wars way back then. It was terrible, but I just remember distinctly that they cast Hugh Jackman as the next Han Solo. I don't want that to happen at all. I just remember thinking to myself, they'll never do that. And now I live in a world where I'm thinking they might do that. Truth is stranger than fiction. It's kind of weird how we get so far from where we once were. And one thing about Han Solo, recasting him, you got to get like an alpha male type that women want, guys want to be. Like, you need to take that approach, because Han Solo had the cool factor. Alden Ehrenreich is a nerd. He's a nerd in a wig who smiles and is like, I'm a pilot, I'm this, I'm that. I'm like, dude, you ain't shit, okay? You are a cosplayer, and a bad one at that. Yet you're getting paid the money to play Han Solo. Let's see here. Do I really follow anything on Twitter? Nick runs our Twitter. I follow some stuff on Twitter. I'm not... Here's the thing. I like social media. Like, if you want to contact us, our Facebook page, I respond to almost everyone. Like, so many people contact us there, and I do my best to respond to everybody. So if social media and world-class bullshitters are two things you want to consume, our Facebook is the best way. Twitter, I never got Twitter. Like, I have my own personal Twitter. I have like 8 followers. I just never got it. I don't know what the purpose is. Now, is from a marketing standpoint for world-class bullshitters, I definitely get it, but that's why I have a guy like Nick take care of it, because Nick is more well-versed. And remember, world-class bullshitters, like the show and all that stuff, is a big team effort, so we can't forget people like Nick who's making that stuff happen. Brian Finley, thank you. Whatever happened to the Disney that made Return to Oz, Black Hole, and Tron? Well, Brian, they went away. I mean, the Disney animation renaissance of the late 80s and early 90s really reinforced the family-friendly atmosphere as a moneymaker. I'm like, it's a business. I get it. You want to make money. But that Disney from the, was it late 70s, early 80s, is dead. And that's not... See, and another thing, Michael Eisner, when he was the head of the Disney studios, when he was overseeing the theme parks, like, he wanted stuff that appealed to older and younger audiences. And now everything is about your kids, and they just basically are playing on the fact that, oh, you love your kids, you'll bring them to Disney World and buy them all this expensive crap because you love your children. And I get it. You love your children. You want to do things to make them happy. But I don't think that's a good plan for longevity. I think Disney stuff's lame. And when I have kids, I mean, I grew up watching some Disney stuff, but I really liked Warner Brothers animation. And you had Marvel stuff, which wasn't owned by Disney back then. And Marvel animation was just as widely available as Disney stuff. So the problem with that Disney being gone is the fact that they won't take risks. They won't do anything that will endear them to older audiences. Tomorrowland, they tried something different and it was a flop. That was just a bad movie, and that was rife with this SJW nonsense. Even back then, they were trying to pull that shit. So, Disney with balls doesn't exist anymore. I have said on record that the 80s was the best time for entertainment, and the 80s was also the last decade where Disney was the weakest that it's been. So I think if Disney takes a hit with Star Wars. Disney takes a hit with not acquiring Fox, and Disney's kind of publicly shamed and beaten down a little bit, and everyone's not focused on the Disneyfication of products. We might get some entertainment with an edge. And I'm not saying we need RoboCop violence and everything, but to have something that appeals to that audience, and you can have your love stories and your dramas and that. You can have basically every form of entertainment for different age groups and not try to homogenize everything. That's why places like YouTube are great, because you have all kinds of available options. Should people boo Kathleen Kennedy at Star Wars Celebration? I mean, I'm not going to say you should, but I'm not going to say you shouldn't. I can only speak for myself, where I will be booing her like I booed John Cena. Disney films are too far likely to be bland. Yeah, they are bland because they don't want to offend anyone. They want to be safe and saccharine and boring, and that's how they keep their name the way it is, sterling and clean. Like they're worried about that. Ray Don, thank you. Fan of The Incredibles? The first, obviously, there's only one out, so that's a dumb thing to say. Yeah, I like The Incredibles. I own it on DVD. It's the only Disney Pixar film I own on DVD. I love Toy Story, or I loved Toy Story as a kid. I got old Buzz Lightyear stuff from the first movie. I was big into that. But The Incredibles, I rented it from the library, and I was so impressed by it that I went out and bought a copy like that day. Because what happened was I was into it, and then about the time where Mr. Incredible fights the robot in the volcano, the disc stopped working, and I just had to know what happened next. So I ran to Best Buy in high school back when I only, had a shitty burger job, and I had to go out and buy that movie that afternoon so I could see the rest of the Incredibles. And I watched that a lot in college. Like that was a movie, like girls would come over to the dorm and watch movies and stuff. They'd want to watch The Incredibles or Along Came Polly. Those were the two I remember. I even loaned those out to a lot of people. But I do enjoy The Incredibles. Am I excited for part 2? I'll eventually see it. I'm not going to rush out in theaters to see The Incredibles 2. First off, it's weird when a guy like me just goes to a movie that's full of families and kids. I always just feel kind of like out of place. I don't know. I just don't want to like, why is this guy here? I mean, I'm here because I like The Incredibles, but I can wait till like a Tuesday when everyone's busy and I'll, go see it by myself or something like that. So I'm a fan. Number 2 looks all right. I'll be honest, if it sucks, it sucks. I'm not blinded by the nostalgia goggles of the first Incredibles. Let's see. How many times did you get some because of The Incredibles? Not any from The Incredibles. I'm trying to think. Horror movies work. Back to horror. There we go. That definitely works. Somebody called me a creeper or a crepere. I thought they said crepe at first. I'm like, okay, crepes are cool. Dion loves them. Admit it. You went to see the Emoji Movie alone. I haven't seen the Emoji Movie. I'll admit that I haven't seen it. I did go see the Lego Movie in theaters, though, because I heard how great it was, and I really liked the Lego Movie quite a bit. I probably won't be seeing it part 2, though, because I liked it enough, but I'm not going to consume more Lego Movie. I'm just not worried about it. Yeah, I do feel like I'm too old to watch Disney films at the cinema. It's just, I don't know, it's just not for me. Now, Marvel shit, I don't care what age group you're in. I'll go see that first day, even if I have to by myself. Don't watch Screen Junkies Incredible HT. I don't watch Screen Junkies anything, dude. Like, the Screen Junkies channel, I don't even, look at the Andy Signore controversy aside, isn't even coloring my opinion. I'm going to answer this real quick before I get to Sam Flanagan's super chat. Thank you again, Sam. I'll answer that. But the reason I dislike Screen Junkies so much is because I love the show Movie Fights, but they are not consistent in the way they judge the show. Andy Signore was a very unfair judge. He would give certain people, and I'm not trying to sound mean when I say this, but he give these women extra time to think of answers for the questions. Oh, I don't want to end the show this way. I don't want to do that. But then the guys aren't afforded the same benefits, especially Nick Mundy and stuff like that. Now, the Mundy stuff you can argue is played up for humor, and I'll give you that. But everyone else, even the boring people from Collider that would cross over, like your Christian Harloffs and such, they weren't given the same benefit as like what's her name, Trisha somebody. Like I remember there's an episode where Andy Signore gave her like an extra 30 seconds to answer it, and she gave up. She's like, I quit. Other people have said I quit, and they end the show. he's just he was a biased judge. So I don't watch anything Screen Junkies put out, because if you want that same bland corporate PR spin, that safeness that Hal Rudnick brings to the table, then the Screen Junkies channel is for you. I don't necessarily need a heavy metal aspect to everything I consume, but I want all the emotions hit. I just don't want the smiling, happy faces. Hey, everything's great. Like the what's her name? Alicia says, "Oh, Citizen Kane, it won an Oscar." Like, that's her argument for everything. It won an Oscar. It's good. I don't think so. Back to Sam Flanagan's super chat. Thank you again. Yeah, imagine Disney trying to buy Game of Thrones. The fallout on that shit. Speaking of endgames, what would be the endgame for Disney to purchase Game of Thrones? I mean, Game of Thrones sells because it's got violence and tits and gore and all that stuff. Disney's not going to put that in their entertainment. And stuff like Game of Thrones and HBO shows should go to show you that people with disposable income consume stuff behind paywalls because it appeals to them. Imagine if somebody like a Warner Brothers would put out a film franchise that appealed to all those people and market it properly and merchandise it. You could really have a ton of extra money coming in, because they keep thinking that it's only the kids that want to watch this shit or buy or consume entertainment. But I'll tell you this, people of every age want to consume entertainment. And when you cater to those people, they will reward you handsomely. Look at RoboCop and Predator and Terminator. They haven't made a good one of those movies in like 25 years, but they still keep pumping out merchandise left and right because there's the nostalgia factor, but there is that demand for hardcore action. There's demand for stuff that appeals to adults, and they're just pissing that away. They go for the kid money because they think, well, if you buy one ticket, you got to take the whole family out. True, but if you pumped out, let's say Death Wish was made better and marketed better, and people were all like into it. Let's say I saw it. Then I take a friend, and then we all go again. Like the Avengers. The Avengers appealed to everybody. I saw the movie 4 times in theaters, and I took different people every time. Imagine a franchise like that, where there's some balls to it, and people go back and see it all the time. Super chat from today. Thank you again. Do you think all the SJW Star Wars decisions is Disney's doing? Is it really just Kathleen Kennedy? Is Disney telling her to do what she wants, and then the political ideals are hers, or is Disney directly responsible? Will removing her matter? All right, let's talk about these. I don't think the SJW decision is Disney's doing. I think it's accepted by Disney, but I think it's all Kathleen Kennedy's ideology, because out in Hollywood, they have an agenda about being progressive. In reality, they're the regressive people that are pushing out minorities and different groups by marginalizing them and trying to put them on these platforms and making them uncomfortable. Nobody wants to be singled out because they have a different skin color. So don't do that in a praising manner, in quotation marks, because you're only hurting your cause. You shouldn't even have a cause. Your cause should be to entertain as many people as possible. So will removing her matter? No. I think you need to, nip it in the bud was the old phrase they would put in all those TV shows. You need to really go down to the root of the problem, the story group, and you need to get rid of everybody. That's how you get rid of the ideology. Or you need a Disney mandate that says, like, look, we're not putting up with this shit. It's hurting us. It's hurting our business. We don't want it anymore. I mean, there are adults who are writing us letters that they've sent to Disney. They're like, hey, I have a kid. I don't want my kid exposed to pansexuality and all these weird things in Star Wars. This is Star Wars. This isn't meant to be that kind of stuff. So even if you disagree with somebody on a political spectrum, their concerns for not wanting to expose their child to like weird sexual stuff is fine. I don't know. Like, a kid doesn't really need to see that. They're too young and confused. And they have other things to concern themselves with than what Lando Calrissian sticks his dick in. But these people out in Hollywood think that's paramount to a good story. So when John Kasdan and Ryan Johnson are yucking it up on Twitter, I don't see any assholes. Who's the asshole? They're the assholes, and you just can't see it. So, like I said, I don't think Disney is responsible directly. I don't think there's a mandate. I think they allow it. The same thing with Marvel. Now, I'm surprised that Marvel hasn't had a mandate come down from Disney where they just do a clean slate and just wipe everybody out, clean the house, like just get rid of everyone. There must be a reason why in that case they allow it. Maybe they're trying to get these people in early, but I don't think it's working because kids do read comic books, but certain kids are introduced to comic books by older readers and fans. Like one thing that all these companies fail to do, and they used to do back in the day, is that kids want to be treated like adults. And I'm not saying they want to have to pay taxes or worry about certain responsibilities, but they want the illusion that they have the same respect as an adult. And when you make a movie or a piece of entertainment that treats a kid like an adult or challenges them to act a little older, like remember if you had like an older brother and you wanted to hang out with the older brother because he was cool, but he wanted to hang out with his friends and, didn't want to be bothered by a child. Take that mentality with your entertainment. Have those people, like, treat those kids like the Goonies. The Goonies, they cussed, they did their own thing. Their parents were in the story, but they went on their own adventure. Like, stop holding people's hands. Like, just go out into the world and do shit like that. And, like, give those kids that opportunity in film. Rick Ray says, first off, thank you, Rick Ray. Disney equals Hollywood studio. They are liberal. I'm not going to disagree with that. I'm not out in the Hollywood system. I know somebody who has been out in the Hollywood system, and they tell me how weird it is. And this was a long time ago, so I'm sure today now it's worse. That's one thing. I mean, we always joke about we got this world-class bullshitters movie we're going to make. We are making it. It's not an exaggeration. That's down the road, and we want to make entertainment, be it on YouTube, movies, whatever, just free of that weird political slant. There's no reason to alienate 2/3 of your audience. Hell, like 7/10 of your audience. There's no reason to alienate all those people with these weird ideologies. Like, people are people, and for the most part, people are pretty damn good. So why call people things they're not just because of the color of their skin? I want it to be Luke. I want it to be Hicks. I did not want to be like the dumb kids on the dumb kid shows. Evil Ash, I'm sure you're talking about Hicks from Aliens and not me. But if you wanted to be like me as a kid, cool. You're older than me, so whatever. No, but I get it. You do want to be like, I wanted to be like Indiana Jones, or not necessarily Han Solo, because he cried a lot, like in Empire. He's like, ah! And I was just like, Han Solo's cool, but I don't want to be like him. He's got a shitty ship and all that stuff. But you do want to be like the older characters. You want to be, it's cool when these characters challenge you and make you want to be better people. Like, there are people out there that got into science because they enjoyed the Fantastic Four or stuff like that. I mean, you just you got to find that that blend, Not everything needs to be stupid for kids, It's not a hard thing. They were doing it before. They're doing this stuff intentionally now. Andrew Dale, thank you, Andrew Dale. Prequels are enjoyable if you go in for the political plot line of the laws the Emperor passes in the Galactic Senate. Yeah. It works. That works. I think the Machiavellian conspiracy on Palpatine's part is probably the best part of the prequels. There's aha moments. Now, it would have been a little better if you didn't see Darth Sidious in episode 1, because I always thought that was kind of confusing as a kid. I mean, I get it. It's not like it's a hard thing to follow in the plot, but there are that element of the story is awesome. Like, seriously, that is, I like it. If you go in for that, and if you go in for the lightsaber duels, like, I'll stand by the episode 1 lightsaber duel. It's incredible. It starts out awesome in the theater hangar. It goes into the control room and all that crap. And I think the strongest part of the lightsaber duel is when Obi-Wan fights Darth Maul single-handedly, and the lightsabers are making that, like, they have a slightly different sound because, like, how fast they're being swung. Like, that is cool. I prefer the emotional impact of Empire and Jedi's fights, but either way, if you go in, there are things in the prequels you can go into and find genuine entertainment. Do the politics of space politics, but don't do the politics of whatever year the film came out in. Like, it hurts. It defeats the purpose of Star Wars. Yeah, Duel of Fates was awesome. I agree 100%. Gears of War and Halo and The Last of Us got ruined pretty good. The male leads are gone and buried. 85% of gaming has female leads. Where's my representation? I usually don't talk about gaming, but I wanted to bring this up. It's weird to think that the only place that's doing this shit right is Nintendo in terms of, like, this, not even the hero's journey, this or that, but, like, let's look at Legend of Zelda. I don't do a lot of gaming anymore. I've been busy. Like I said, I used to want to be an artist. I would draw, 7 hours a day. Now I do this all the time. No complaints, but I don't really have time for gaming like I used to. In high school, I would go to school, football practice, gaming. Then I got a job at school, football practice, gaming, and work. So gaming used to be a big, big part of my life. I do see this trend in American-led games because they're trying to be contemporary and cool, but you can be woke and go broke. I look at the last Zelda game. They did elevate Princess Zelda's character in terms of importance and gave her more to do, but Link wasn't downplayed or removed. Like, if they ever made a Zelda game where you play as Zelda, I'll skip it. It's not about not wanting to play as female characters. It's about changing the formula to become something it's not. If you want a female-led action-adventure franchise, you go play Horizon Zero Dawn. You don't play The Legend of Zelda. You play The Legend of Zelda for the adventures of Link, and Ganondorf, and Zelda, and all these great things. Gears of War and Halo used to be two of my favorite franchises. Gears of War 1 through 3 were awesome in terms of story for me, at least, because that was the first time that I really got into a series from the beginning, and I stuck with it all the way through. I don't plan on playing 4 or 5, and it really, the female lead thing isn't what bothers me the most. It bothers me because it's like, here's the thing. I wanted to make a video about it, but I'll talk about it now. Why is every form of entertainment flipping the switch on this weird political stuff all at once? It's like they're trying to give us no option, so we just stick with what we have because everything is like this now, so we just have to accept it. When in reality, people find other outlets for entertainment, so they're really just hurting themselves. I'll tell you this, though. If they ever do a Grand Theft Auto where you're a female lead and you can't create the... Like, Saints Row was good because you could create your character, and if you want to be a man or a woman or anything in between, you could be that, and it worked. Grand Theft Auto is a lot more narrative-driven, and I like it the way it is. I think Rockstar is smart enough not to fall into these identity politics, because look at Grand Theft Auto 5. It's the most profitable video game of all time, I believe. Red Dead Redemption 2, male lead. Classic Western story. That kind of stuff works. Rockstar knows their core audience. They know that it's a bunch of guys that play their game. There's a bunch of women that play it too. I'm just going by percentages. You know, our channel, our audience is like 95% male and 5% female. I don't ever tell our female audiences they're not welcomed here. I never try to do anything that makes them feel unwelcomed. Everyone's welcomed here. But with Rockstar and us, you find out who your audience is and you cater to them. You give the people what they want. I'm not going to all of a sudden start talking about, I don't know, Barbie or something on the channel, or Hello Kitty or something that our audience doesn't give a shit about, because I don't give a shit about. And if Rockstar were to start doing stuff like that, create things they hate, or create things that their audience hates, then they're just going to lose. It's all bad. It's all bad. Let's see. Leon was cucked in Resident Evil 6. I've never played Resident Evil 6, but I hope not. And no, April, I will not get the CDI Zelda games. I definitely know what a shithole they are. I'm an old school fan. My parents played the first Zelda when my mom was pregnant with me. I got into Ocarina of Time, Twilight Princess, Wind Waker, Breath of the Wild. Didn't play Skyward Sword. But yeah, Zelda has always been a franchise I've been a huge fan of. And I love it. Now, everyone's talking about the rumor that GTA 6 will have a girl as the main character. I haven't heard that rumor. I think that's probably the news media trying to control that one. It's like, hey, it's going to be a female lead. I don't care what you label me as when I say this statement. I will not buy GTA 6 if you're a chick, because I don't feel like it would be a natural thing. And you know, places like IGN are say, oh, it's great that it's a female. Grand Theft Auto is built on being on these American crime films. You know, like I watched Heat the other day, and all I could keep thinking was of Grand Theft Auto 5. And, you know, you play as these characters that do these things, and yeah, a woman can go rob a bank, but I don't really want to play as a chick who goes to visit a male prostitute and gets reamed by a dude like that. To me, Grand Theft Auto is like the ultimate crime fantasy. And I just, my ultimate crime fantasy doesn't involve me with a male stripper or a hooker. So I don't know. I think that's going to hurt them. And I am just not going to support that. That is where I'll speak with my dollars, and I'll stick with GTA 5. I'll go back and get a gaming PC and play GTA 5 and 4 and mod it up. I don't need 6. If you can if you can make your own character, cool. And if you can choose to be a male or female, cool. But I don't think forcing the audience to be a woman because it's the woke thing to do in 2018 or 20, whenever that game comes out, is smart. Super chat from Matt Deckard. Thank you. I designed for Stetson in Texas, moved from LA. I learned I was working with cowboys very soon. Like the hat people? Like the Stetson hats? That's kind of cool. So that's definitely a big culture change. I've been to California recently. It's a different environment out there. I imagine it's worse in LA. I went to wherever WrestleMania 31 was, San Francisco, San Bernardino, I don't remember where the hell I was, but it was different. I couldn't imagine them going from LA to Texas. That'd be an interesting thing. Unless you go to Austin. I think Austin's, a very liberal area like that. Teresa Martin. Yes, cater to audience. They didn't try to turn Beauty and the Beast into a dude film. They need to reciprocate with Star Wars. There's room for chick flicks and guy flicks. Thank you. I say that all the time. There's not a problem. Look, when I was in high school, every girl talked about The Notebook, The Notebook, The Notebook. That's great. That's a movie that women loved, and millions of women went to see, and they watched it, and they laughed, and they cried. Millions of women went out to see Twilight, and they drugged their boyfriends there too. There's not a problem with having movies that appeal to different audiences. This idea that everything needs to appeal to everybody doesn't work because it appeals to nobody. Chick flicks are fine. I never once got mad about people going to see I Heart Huckabees or any of these fucking movies that don't appeal to me. And you know what? I don't think you should take one of those Christmas Day or New Year's Day movies or any of those ones with like 45 celebrities in it. I don't think you need to have a fucking action scene in the middle of the movie, like a car chase. Like Ashton Kutcher doesn't need to jump behind the wheel of a Corvette and like do ramps off a building or something. Like Vin Diesel doesn't need to show up. You could definitely have entertainment that appeals to both sexes. It's not a thing that's a problem. It's not a dirty word to have a chick flick. It's not a dirty word to have a male-led action film. There's a reason that shit like Terminator and Predator and stuff has lived and stood the test of time. It knows what it is. It's balls to the wall action. It appeals to guys on a primal level. It's not about trying to not man spread in public and all this other garbage. Like, you're 100% right, Teresa. There's audience, there's room for both, and they don't have to step on each other's tail. Like, what was that movie, Girls Trip? The one with where the black women go down to New Orleans? That's fine. And then you have The Hangover for dudes? That's fine. Or Bridesmaids? Like, it doesn't hurt that you have a very similar movie that leans towards men and a very similar movie that leans towards women. It's great. Have it all. Just don't do something like Ghostbusters, where you just shit on Ghostbusters and then shit on the fans for not accepting it. PJ Santillo, at least Gears of War's female lead is interesting. Gears had strong females in the past, i.e. Anya Stroud, and Gears 4 told what I thought was a good story with a surprise twist at the end. I recommend it. Well, PJ, the only reason I haven't played Gears 4 is not because of female leads or anything like that. It's because I don't own an Xbox One, and I don't plan on it because now there's a rumor that the next Xbox will come out in 2020. So I can wait 18 months for the Xbox 2 or whatever the fuck they're going to call it. Anya was great in Gears of War. I'm all for her. And, I know Cortana's like a computer and AI thing, and that's fine too. I don't have a problem with like females in video games. Like, I had Tomb Raider, the first one back in the day. Played the shit out of it. I don't dislike the female characters in fighting games. They're usually the fastest characters. So like Chun-Li and shit, they're all fine, good characters that have a place in gaming history. It's never about that. For me, Gears of War, though, I didn't play it and have no interest really going forward because the brotherhood between Marcus and Dom and Baird and Cole was awesome. And if they make a Gears of War film, they're not going to stick with that. They're not going to do, Band of Brothers style of thing. They're going to basically throw her in and try to make her, they're going to have this woman that weighs 90 pounds who's going to be holding a Lancer that's as big as her leg. And it just, I know it's action and it's fantasy and stuff like that, but like, Anya's fine. Have her in the Gears of War movie if they make it. But if you make a Gears of War movie, you better have Marcus, Dom, the Coltrane, and Bayard. And about those 4 dudes, Anya is a side character in the first 2 games, and she shows up in the 3rd one, and that's completely fine if you're going to do that kind of stuff. It's not about not having women and stuff like that. It's just have it feel organic. I mean, Ripley felt fine on the ship in Alien. There was her, and there was the other woman, Veronica Cartwright's character, and that was fine. And Ripley was the smartest one and the most able one. And I've never considered Alien to be a feminist agenda piece. I've considered it a horror movie in space. Women survive horror movies, which is fine. I've never like the reason Jamie Lee Curtis survives Halloween is because she's the only one that's paying attention. It's not about her vagina. It's literally she's the only one that's not banging because she's shy. She's paying attention to the kids and she's noticing shit. And that's why she survives. Annie and Linda, they're busy trying to get some, and they die. It's not an allegory for virginity or purity. It's about, hey, pay attention to your surroundings. You'll make it through the movie. Same thing with Predator. He paid attention to his surroundings. He survived the movie. And he's Arnold Schwarzenegger. Mortefero, these agendas have begun ruining new games. I find myself replaying old games just to return to great stories without the political BS we have now. Yeah, dude, I'm with you 100%. I definitely have been playing. You know what though? I consume older movies to keep myself free of the political garbage. That's what I do to keep myself sane. Here's something personal thing. I watch Beverly Hills Cop like every 2 or 3 days. Yeah, I'm at the gym and I need something to pass the time. But my point is, I like to consume stuff that is a little more pure in terms of like the message behind it. I love the Lethal Weapon movies. Yeah, there's a little bit of heavy-handed political stuff in there, like the saving the whales and apartheid and stuff like that. But I don't really think, treating everybody the same is a bad thing. But the movies are able to have an entertaining element and like sprinkle that in. I think that's a good blend of that. I go back and watch stuff. I'm looking at my shelf now. I watch Batman 89 all the time, just back then when stuff was, I know this sounds weird to say, but like being driven by profit seems more noble than the shit that these people are driven by nowadays. It's bizarre to think that. I consume a lot of old TV too, like Miami Vice. I watch stuff like Christmas Story. Why did I say Christmas Story? That's on my shelf. I watch that all year long. I love that movie. But here's an example. Kong Skull Island. I thought Brie Larson was fine in that movie because she wasn't in the military doing all this shit. She was just the photographer, and that would make sense in that realm. It was the Vietnam War, and there weren't all these women on the front lines doing this shit. There were women in the military. Hell, my grandma was in World War II. Like, talk about strong female leads. That's why I kind of shit on the notion that the characters that they create are these strong female leads, because I know strong females in real life, strong women. The shit they go through is not this fantasy world in these movies, and these fake characters aren't a good representation of what you're going to face or how to face certain situations. It's just kind of disingenuous. But Kong Skull Island did that all right. That's why the Battlefield game is getting all that controversy. Like, what woman with a robotic arm fought in World War One? Like, when you try to make these games racially diverse, that's stupid. It's a historical retelling. Like, if you're making a game where you fight Nazis, they're all white dudes. They're not going to have like a Hispanic Nazi in there and all this other dumb shit. Play up on the stereotypes of the evil Nazis with the monocles and the scars and all the weird scientific testings and stuff like that. But don't try to infuse 2018 politics into something that takes place in 1945. Like in Indiana Jones, there was Dr. Katanga the pirate, or Mr. Katanga the pirate. He was a black dude. That worked fine. But to, if you had the two government guys come in and they were both black dudes or two different ethnicities, that'd be kind of weird. It's 1936. It's America. It's the government jobs. 1930s America wasn't this racially diverse safe space that they wanted it to be portrayed on film. It's a different time. Let's just acknowledge it and make a story that's accurate and not dwell on that dumb shit. Marshall Street says, keep politics out of films. It's a weird thing to say it like this. I agree and I disagree at the same time. You have stuff like They Live. That's a really great example of politics in film. But then you have modern Star Wars, which is a terrible place. I think you need to pick and choose, and you need to find the right places. I don't think talking about politics in movies is a bad thing, but trying to indoctrinate people to a certain ideological view through Star Wars or stuff like that is good. That is a terrible, terrible idea that serves no purpose to anyone. And yes, Thomas R. Hart, the 1980s was the decade where you could watch The Breakfast Club, Rambo, and Aliens and not be ashamed of watching any of those films. I love The Breakfast Club. I have a copy of it on my phone at all times. It's a great movie. I'm conflicted. What's the best John Hughes movie? And the funny thing is about The Breakfast Club, modern critics online, like these people that write these blogs that, have no money, they're going to bitch and say it's a bunch of white people in high school complaining about first world problems and all that shit. But in reality, if they watch the movie, if they haven't seen it, it's a story that appeals to everyone who went to high school, because everyone has either been one of those characters or felt like it or envied those type of people, like maybe wanted to be the jock or the cool girl or this or that. It spoke to everybody on a primal level. That's why The Breakfast Club, 34 years later, is still talked about in such a positive way. And when you watch it, and you laugh and you pay attention. Everyone's had a dickhead principal like... what's his name? I want to call him Dwayne T. Robinson. the guy from Die Hard, he played Dwayne T. Robinson, or Clarence Beeks, like that guy. Like everyone's had that. That's why these movies from back in the day, they resonate with you on every level. Even something like Heathers is more entertaining than a modern day take on that kind of shit, because you're able to have a weird, morbidly humorous film with all girls and stuff like that. Like the 80s was the last decade of pure entertainment, and I miss it. I wasn't even alive for most of it, but whatever. Let's see. Cogitan Gams. Why does everyone want to make women like men? Women are not strong in the way men are strong. 100% of men are physically stronger than 90% of women. I know Dion will go, I don't know about that. I'm not going to get into that kind of stuff, but you're right about why do they want to make women into men and men into women? I think it goes against just entertainment. Like, it goes against what people want to consume. We talked about it on the High Council last night, and there's nothing wrong. Like earlier, the comment about from Teresa that said, women want to watch, or women that watch chick flicks and men that watch action flicks. There's no reason you need to cross the streams. Okay? There's no reason you need to do those things. People just aren't receptive to that. And no matter what Hollywood does to try to force that on us, it just doesn't work. You have look at Ellen Ripley is a female action hero, but she's also maternal. I mean, in the director's cut, she had the daughter that had died since she was frozen. She essentially adopted Newt. Like, she has those maternal instincts as well as kicking ass and shooting aliens. Like, it works when you build a character properly. You don't just say female and then insert whatever existed. Female Rambo, female this, female that. It's like, why can't you just build a new character that's all unique and original? I'm loving the comments about Back to the Future, or Beverly Hills Cop. Yes, Omeo Ramen, Axel Foley was an alpha male, as well as Taggart and Rosewood. I can't praise those movies enough. Don't worry, guys. We're going to talk about Beverly Hills Cop and all kinds of fun stuff here on the channel, because as we're slowing this stream down, I just want to tell you guys, first off, I appreciate everyone that's watching, helping support the channel, but I want to get more of these going to interact with people and have discussions about entertainment, because yeah, we do talk about Star Wars, and that's not going to stop, but Star Wars is the prime example of everything that's happening in entertainment, and we need to pay attention, and we need to be vigilant to watch for this garbage and not allow it. You don't need to attack people, but you need to get rid of these like garbage ideas that don't appeal or have any benefit to anyone. No one wants to see Kelly Marie Tran attacked, but people don't want to see a lame character like Rose Tico either. I mean, I think they're missing the point here. It's nice to want to defend your friend, from the bad things that happen in life, but don't attack the fans that didn't do anything. I'll speak for me and the guys on the show. We just wanted a good movie with good characters, and we didn't get that. We paid our money, we were duped, and we have the right to discuss and critique these movies. And we're not really criticizing Daisy Ridley for being a woman or, Kelly Marie Tran for being Asian. What we're saying is the characters are shitty and these actors are doing their job. But you know what? It's a shitty project. So let's just get over it, Hollywood. Let's get over ourselves and realize the audiences, the general public, people aren't buying your shit. So that's all I got to say about that. Fall 95 was when everything went to shit from the Siscan debates, whatever. I'm sorry, I apologize. Fall 95 had Goldeneye, but I get it. One thing I will say about this, though, we talk about political correctness in James Bond. I do like how they tried to pull that card in Goldeneye. She's like, you're a sexist, misogynist dinosaur, a relic of the Cold War. But that's what they needed to save the day. And James Bond did what he always did. They didn't emasculate him, at least as Pierce Brosnan. When he didn't have a mommy complex, James Bond was one of the best characters in cinema. I think speaking real quick before I answer these next two super chats, don't worry, guys, I'm not forgetting them. When we talk about infusing politics into entertainment, I think you could use that or do that perfectly with James Bond. You could use James Bond as the cipher for, if that's the right word I'm using or thinking of, for like politics. You could have James Bond infiltrate this and that and do this and that. And you can tell these really great political stories and this intrigue and all this stuff like that, if done right. But Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson aren't the right people, because these people are afraid of controversy and they're not willing to weather the storm to make something truly great. Super chat from Matt Deckard. Thank you very much. 80s were where we raised. 80s we were raised to see the racism, communism were fatalistic and awful. Watch The Wave, 1981. When did those lessons stop? Well, according to the Saskandabadites, it was fall 95. But you're right. You know, I was born in the 80s, grew up in the 90s. You weren't taught racist shit. You were taught it was bad. But, you know, the way things are now, it's like we've regressed, and it's been really quick, too. I mean, I know I'm not the only person to see this. All of a sudden, it's like everything's about race and this and that. You know, when Spawn came out, it wasn't like the first black superhero, blah, blah, blah. At least it's not what I remember. What I remember is it was Spawn, the sensation created by Todd McFarlane. I didn't even realize Spawn was black until I saw the movie. You would see the toys, you would see the merchandise out in the world. Like, Spawn's a cool character. Didn't matter that he was black. He was just a good superhero. If you like Spawn, I think he was fine. It has changed. It's not for the good. I mean, I know Rocky IV is kind of dumb for the most part. I know some people love it. I think the first three are great. But when he goes, if I can change and you can change and we can all change, like, that's a decent message. You know, if we can all see the problems of entertainment or the world and stuff like that and all be better people, that's fine. But it's the people out in power that keep, you know, playing us against each other and making it about race and gender and ideals that don't really affect anyone out in the real world. Like, they make it about that, and then they try to vilify the people that disagree with them. So it's the people in power in terms of entertainment that are keeping this, they're perpetuating the hate. And, you know, talk about force out hate, force out these people. They're the ones, the bad ones, the ones that are causing all the problems. Xdolic says, have you seen the article of Ben Shapiro destroying Kathleen Kennedy and defending the fans? I have. I read that 2 days ago. We talked about it on the High Council last night, but I'll give you my thoughts again. I don't really watch a lot of like political pundits and stuff like that. I know who Ben Shapiro is. It's kind of hard not to know who he is in the modern age, especially on YouTube. You just can't avoid him. I read the article. I agree with what he said. He said that it's Kathleen Kennedy's problem. Yeah, it's a problem that people attacked Kelly Marie Tran. You can't really defend that garbage. But it's Kathleen Kennedy's problem for allowing the shit to be made. She's the boss. You know, Xbox is the prime example. What's that guy's name that got fired? Not Major Nelson, because he's still around. The guy that said the Xbox One, you know, is the future, Connect is this and that, and if you don't have an online connection, the Xbox 360 is for you. That guy that got fired, that ruined, what was his name, Phil Spencer? I think, or no, it's Phil Spencer, the guy that's fixing it. My point is, everyone put the Xbox One's failure on that guy. Like, he was the face of the failure. Kathleen Kennedy is the face of the failure. She's the boss. The old phrase, you got to pay the cost to be the boss. You don't really, you don't blame other people. You blame her because she's in charge. And there's nothing wrong with blaming her because she's in charge. Let's call it like it is. She's the boss. That's her fault. And she just got to deal with it. So, let's see. Tene says, got to go to work. Keep up the sick content. Thank you, Tene. I hope I'm saying your name right, or Tene. Not Captain and Tennille. I appreciate you guys watching us this early in the morning. If you guys want more stuff like that, you just let me know. I can make the time, and excuse the sirens. Apparently I live in the south side of Chicago. But I can make the time for these live streams as much as you want. I'll never stop making the videos and pumping out the content that way. But if this is stuff you want, more engaging, more personable stuff, kind of like a talk radio situation, we can make this happen. We can do this most days. I mean, you know, maybe on the weekends I'm not as free as you'd want me to be, but I can make stuff happen. So thank you. Let's see. Kevathar1138. Welcome back, Kevathar. Why does Demolition Man feel like a coming documentary? Like Idiocracy? First off, folks, have you guys all seen Idiocracy, the movie by Mike Judge? It's really scary how prophetic that movie has become. With that being said, maybe not the freezing part, but definitely the corporate politics presented in Demolition Man are the future. It's funny how we reflect the dumbest parts of entertainment, like future entertainment. And one thing I will say, I'm not trying to get too intellectual here, but go watch The Twilight Zone to see a show that's somehow relevant over 50 years later. That show definitely can boil down the best and worst of humanity, and it touches on topics that seemed futuristic and bizarre in the 50s and 60s, but that are now problems in everyday life. So I think we need to look back to stuff like that. And yeah, Demolition Man is oddly prophetic. Rick Ray, thank you. Think people divided we fall, they keep us fighting. Think, people, divided we fall, keep us fighting. Yeah, we do need to just stay unified. It's the funny thing is they want to say we're this angry hate mob. All we do on this channel and in the High Council is like advocate for the fans coming together and creating a community. That's all we ever do. We don't really talk about dividing and stuff like that. So everyone needs to just, come together, come to chats like this, hang out, have fun, make friends. Like over in our on our Facebook page, we have a community that it's now self-sustaining. Like you know who you are. If you listen to this show, you know who you are over on the Facebook page that keep this shit rolling. First off, thank you. It's a lot of fun. Even for me, it's a nice way to take a break. But like, just build a community. And this is I hate to use this phrase, but this is a diverse community, and they can't really attack us as like, oh, it's a group of angry white dudes on the internet. No, this is a very diverse group of people from every walk of life, from every color, every belief. It doesn't matter. We all have the same want: good entertainment. We want good Star Wars. We want good everything. So this is how you can fight the SJW scourge in entertainment. You just you stick together, you find people, and you show them that all the bad things they say about us as a whole is wrong. That's how you do it. And yeah, you make us the best community. As I'm closing this out, suit yourself. I haven't seen Cobra Kai yet, but I'm going to watch it actually in a couple of hours because I believe we're supposed to be doing that for the Patreon tonight, like a roundtable discussion. So I have to watch it. I have it thanks to somebody. I'm going to watch it, and I'm going to report back on it because I love the Karate Kid, and I really can't wait to watch it. Watchman for you says Twilight Zone, Obsolete Man is classic. Obsolete. Yeah, that episode's fucking incredible. Burgess Meredith was in 3 great ones and 1 shitty one, or is it 2 great ones and 1 shitty one? All I know is that Mr. Dingle the Strong, yeah, that's his. That's terrible. But Time Enough at Last, Obsolete Man, and I think there's one more that he's in is classics. Everyone, if you guys have Netflix or Hulu, the Twilight Zone's on there. And if you have Hulu, they have the season 4, which is the hour-long episodes. If you guys really want some entertainment that's going to make you think and entertain you, make sure you guys watch Twilight Zone. Like I stand by the Twilight Zone wholeheartedly. Yeah, suit yourself. We do need to save our entertainment, and we need to pump it up, guys. We need to keep this rolling. So this has gone from 75 people watching to almost 1,200 people watching early morning Eastern Standard Time. So if you guys want this to happen, let's press F in the chat real quick. If you all type in F or whatever, I will do more of these regularly. So let's do that. And Amando Del Monaco watches the Twilight Zone every day. You have excellent taste if you watch the Twilight Zone every day. All right, we got 1 F, 2. And now they're rolling in. Okay, you guys want more of these. Yeah, wow, that is the whole page. Real quick, as it popped up, somebody said Black Mirror is Twilight Zone for millennials. Black Mirror started out incredibly strong, and I mean incredibly strong in my opinion, and it fell by the wayside. It is trash. You took the awesome dark twists that came with the show, and you changed it for weird modern-day politics. I can't fucking stand it. And thank you, the Baron, for listening to us on your way to work. And Omeo Ramen, the reason people are typing F is because they want FF2 or FF12. If anybody puts Too Fast, Too Furious as that, you win the day. But no, I just said type F if you want me to continue to do these things. I gladly will. So I do have to take into account, too, that we are worldwide and that different time zones people watch it. Darth Hammer, real quick. No, I don't think George Lucas abandoned us. I think George Lucas... Yeah... I think George Lucas sold... He claims to save a lot of people's jobs. I don't think he abandoned the fan base. Yes, suit yourself. To be fair, we do have our patrons on once a month here on live stream. So that, I think, is that going to be next week? I'll let everyone know that's a patron. We're going to do another one of our live stream hangouts where you guys can come on the show. We'll talk about whatever you want for as long as you want, and we'll make it happen. Thank you, 557 Deadpool, for the Too Fast, Too Furious. I appreciate it. It's midnight, and OZ, is that Australia? Aussie land? Whatever. I'm sorry. So, everyone, thank you for watching. Enjoy your day. If it's nighttime, go to bed thinking some good thoughts of entertainment. We can save it. We can make it happen. Will we do Back to the Future after Return of the Jedi on Sunday from Mutale? Wow, that really rolled by fast. No, Sunday, I have stuff I have to do. So this is how it's going to work. One last time before we go under 1,000 people. Friday night, this is Spinal Tap. It's a Patreon commentary hangout. That's what we give the fans for helping us out. We try to give you guys entertainment that you want to talk about on a big platform. So we're doing that Friday night, 11:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to be talking about This is Spinal Tap. So get yourselves a copy of the film if you want to watch it with us. We'll have this open. We'll discuss Spinal Tap, rock and roll films. Maybe I'll get to talk about one of my most underrated films, or one of the most underrated films that I love of all time, Airheads. Maybe, I don't know, but it's about Brian Lape and his birthday party and all the things he wants to do and celebrate. So that's how it's going to work. Back to the Future will happen, but Saturday night, 11:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we're doing our Return of the Jedi live stream hangout. It's going to be a lot of fun. After the Star Wars trilogy is over, we're going to be moving into other stuff. So make sure you guys stick around for all the watch parties. Just make sure you look for the word watch party. We're going to be doing Back to the Future. We're going to be doing Indiana Jones. We're going to be doing everything. Beverly Hills Cop, Die Hard, Lethal Weapon. Just movies you guys want. You guys can recommend them. Just join our Facebook page and talk to us. It's really easy for us to see emails and Facebook messages on the page as opposed to chat or comments and stuff in the chat, because it goes away and it keeps growing. So if you guys want to be able to contact us better, worldclassbs@mail.com and Facebook. It's the best way to contact World Class Bullshitters. So you guys go do that. Contact us. Tell us what movies you want. And we will be back on tomorrow night with World Class Bullshitters episode 127, where we're going to be talking about all this and much more in entertainment. So one final time, thank you. If you guys want us to talk about the prequels, yeah, we can make that happen. Top Gun, of course, we're going to talk about that. Twitter, if Facebook's not for you, there's Twitter. You can talk to Nick. Nick will talk to me. We'll make it happen. Oh, okay, final question. I have to answer this. Who do you think is cooler, Indiana Jones or Han Solo? Well, I'll say it like this. It's very easy. Indiana Jones all day, every day. Now, if you take into account the fourth movie, I would have said Han Solo, but you also had Solo and The Force Awakens, so I'm going to go with Indiana Jones. By the way, Archangel 101, an in-depth analysis of Beverly Hills Cop is going to hit our Patreon in the coming month, because if you're a fan of the movie, you know that it takes place in June. Another personal thing about me, every June I make sure I watch Beverly Hills Cop just so I'm current with the timeline of the movie. So anyway, thank you to everyone. I'll be back tomorrow night with more World Class Bullshitters content. And until then, I don't know what else to say.